That's what I love to hear. That's commitment to the program.
Fuck Christmas. This is the war on Christmas.
You won't get any complaints from me on that. And just like that, we're gonna hop right into it. Welcome everyone to the Pass the Controller podcast, a show where a couple of best friends talk about the latest in video games and nerd culture. Sometimes we have guests, and this time we have all guests. This is Oops All Guests because we got a special.
Welcome to the Pass the Controller podcast, where a bunch of friends hang out. Sorry, I thought I was doing the intro.
That's fine. I mean, you can. I like your version better. Hit me up with it. Give me your rendition. This whole episode is
what's
just
going
intros.
on, everybody? Smash that like button. We're doing the Pass the Controller podcast, where a bunch of friends hang out and talk shit and talk about the things we like and dislike, coming to you live from yurts across the world. Yows, if you will. Yeah, we're gonna vibe.
Nothing but yaoi here.
Yes, this is a yaoi only zone. Jesse, are you gonna assume the role of Todd tonight? You're gonna love all the bad things and hate all the good things?
I mean, like, I feel like that's kind of my vibe generally.
Okay.
So who knows? I mean, like, I disliked a lot of popular things this year, but like, you know, we can talk about that when we get there.
I do want to talk about that. So without further ado, the lovely cast of folks joining me on this lovely holiday episode, a little bonus episode. It's not like a filler episode. Like sometimes you get to that weird episode of an anime where it's like the characters who aren't always there, but this is a good episode. Like
the episode in My Hero Academia where the frog girl just has a whole episode doing an internship.
Yes. Yeah. No, this is probably more like the one where they have that concert, like at the class festival or whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For the 6 minutes.
Yeah,
it just feels like it's going on.
Yeah. This is what happens when, I guess 5 people. Well, it is Overwatch 2. When 5 people get together and don't push the payload, this is what happens.
I'm pushing the payload right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm pushing P, you know.
Pushing P.
It's always a good episode when we can't get through the intro. That's the sign of.
Wait, you didn't tell me this was episode 350. That's a milestone. Congratulations.
Congratulations. What Pokemon is 350? That's the real question.
Oh god.
Some Hoenn Pokemon.
I hope it's
Melodic.
Melodic.
Oh,
all right.
Hell yeah,
nice
No,
one.
melodic.
It's
melodic.
It's going with the theme of this is a band
that's
episode.
Melodic. What do you? Because it's like
it's
like
melodic.
Music. It's not a tick.
Feebas is. What do you thought Feebas was? Fabos or something like that?
Turn out that Fabos.
No.
Slap a
all
Fabos.
about that
Slap a
Fabos.
You got the speakers of the trunk. You can feel that Fabos.
If this chaotic energy isn't a sign of things to come, then I don't know what is. So we're gonna run through this intro because we're just gonna get to the shit because that's what we're here for. Of course, joining me, you've all been on the show at least once. So welcome back.
I've never been here before.
Well, you've never been here from Tim Sweeney's yurt.
It's true.
But you've been here from other places. Are you safe there, Jesse? Like, what is there like a sign, like a symbol, a sign?
Safe there.
Like, do you need?
Like blink 5 times if you need help, basically.
I have my pliers. Don't worry.
Okay.
Oh, I've seen the Banshees.
Rusty pliers.
So
I'm ready.
So Jesse's playing real life Inscription. I hope you make it out. Anyways, so joining us, of course, we're going to swing around how the layout looks if you're watching us live on Twitch or later on YouTube. The most guested guest of all time, and keeping that title as we move into the end of 2022, is Cameron Hawkins. Cam, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm, vibing with my friends, so I can't complain.
Okay.
Are you pushing P?
I am pushing P. Always pushing P.
Hell yeah. And what we're going to do instead of like the normal intro is, Cam, what's something that you're proud of you did this year? It doesn't even need to be related to the industry. It could be anything.
Dang, you just dropped like a bombshell on me.
We can come back to it.
Interviewing Reggie Fils-Aimé.
I figured it was a layup for you to say that, but
I feel like that has to be the number one thing.
For sure.
That was very wild, like 25 minutes of my life. Like that was one of those things where like you do something and you feel like you can fight God. Like literally, I walked out of there and I was just like, I can like punch a wall. I have superpowers. I can just punch through the wall, feel no pain, and just like that was like the kind of like euphoria that I was experiencing for sure.
That's a big moment right there. I'm happy for you. I'm looking forward to what 2023 brings your way, and of course, one of the blood gods joining us this evening, the one and only Eric Van Allen. Eric,
a princess of the blood god is here tonight.
What's something you're happy for this year, proud of this year?
I'll use the blood god thing. Actually, we had a charity stream earlier this year. Brenden was on it. Jesse was on it.
Oh wow.
We raised tons of cash. I forgot what the exact number was. I want to say we got up over 10K. Maybe I know we got over 8K because I know that was our last goal. But
you definitely hit your last goal because there was something behind the 10K goal.
I think Autumn of the Avatar was our last one. So, and we definitely hit that because we did Autumn of the Avatar. That was my second favorite thing we did this year. But yeah, we raised a whole shit ton of money for helping out trans folks in a year where they have not been having a great time of it, especially down here in the state of Texas. So felt really good about that. You know, it came together. A lot of people showed up and helped out. And it was really an honor to be the one behind the scenes organizing all that and putting that together. So that's definitely something I was happy about this year.
Yeah, you did a great job. I mean, like everything about that was a good production. Like it had a lot of good segments, a lot of good.
I'm glad it appeared that way because it was held together by fucking gum and shoestring.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine when I'm doing the solo show over here for like my 12-hour streams. I feel like it's fucking wire hangers and the tape. I don't know, not even duct tape. Just
the amount of times tape. I accidentally stream to Eric's router now is so funny because a bunch of the streams had to go through.
I should just leave my vMix receiver.
You should leave it open. You'll get a bunch of shit
what Jesse's up to at random times of the night, sending me OBS shit during the day.
I love it. I love it. And next, going around clockwise here is Greysun Morales. Greysun, you've been busy all year over a game rant. You've been a game rant the whole year, right? Or did you?
Yeah, it'll be my 2-year anniversary next month, actually.
Time doesn't make any sense ever since COVID.
It doesn't.
It really, like, I don't know anything anymore. What's something that you're proud of over there? You haven't been on the show in a while. I'm happy that you were able to make it tonight. This is a pleasure. I am pleased.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I've been keeping an eye on some of the shows you put out recently, and I've been like, I really need to get back on the show. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything specific, man. It's like this year has been so weird for me. Like besides just doing a good job with work, like we moved back to Chicago at the beginning of the year, which is something I'm super happy we did. But I don't know. I haven't done.
You post some good TikToks of like shots around the city and stuff. What's a good day trip you've been on, or a good sightseeing you've been on this year?
I mean, we had a lot of people visit us during the summer, so God, man. I mean, one day we literally walked from our neighborhood to West Loop, or like a farther neighborhood basically in Chicago. And we basically stopped at a few coffee shops, went shopping, and it probably took like an hour or two to walk there. And people usually just take the train or the bus to get around and stuff. But yeah, we just like walking around through downtown and other neighborhoods and areas and stuff instead of taking like transportation just to get out of our own neighborhood, which I really like doing, which we tried to do a lot. It's just now it's winter time and we're kind of like, okay, now we have to stay indoors until it's like, spring again to start doing fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's lovely. Yeah. I like following your out of the house adventures. I get to live vicariously through you through coffee shops and ice cream and rollerblading, and it's I want to do that too. I like going to explore and seeing new coffee shops. Going to new coffie shops is like one of my pleasures. That's like one of my things. I love going to a good coffee shop.
It's so much fun. Actually, I started rollerblading this year, so that's something, I guess.
Oh, hell yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, just life-changing. Just so much fun. More fun than like biking, more fun than jogging. Like it has to be like the perfect weather and not be so windy, which is rare, but when you have like the really nice days with no strong winds, it's like so chill to vibe out and listen to music and
hell yeah,
and get exercising. So yeah.
Love a good new hobby. Love branching out, getting something new in the life cycle. And that brings us to the final guest, the final girl, if I may. I don't actually know what that phrase means. Does it just mean like the last girl that dies in a horror movie? I think I don't even know.
The final
No
girl
idea.
is usually the like girl that sticks it out till the end.
Hell yeah.
You know, they're traditionally in old like 80s, 70s, 80s slasher fix. There is a final girl along with all the other stereotypes that are usually there. So.
Okay. Is the one, the only, the rock of Prima Games, if I may. One Jesse Vitelli. Jesse, your book came out this year, right? Am I losing my mind? That delivered this year?
It did.
That doesn't have to be your thing, but I glanced over. It's on my shelf.
It wasn't my thing.
Good. I'm glad you have multiple.
Because we got to announce that last year.
Mm-hmm.
That was my last year.
Okay. Yes. Fair.
It came out this year, which was cool because it was cool to like physically. There it is.
Hell yeah.
It's cool to physically own that thing.
Yes, it is. Mine's right next to me, but it is under like 20 Switch games,
Jared
and I'm
Penny
not.
gets top byline.
I still need y'all to sign. I still need
Love Jared.
Lucas
Jared's
to
very
sign
nice.
it.
Oh
Jared edited like 200 and something pages. That book is very long.
Mine will be in my car at PAX East. Jesse, you are signing my copy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I gotta come up with like a signature, you know. I don't have like a like all my signatures for like my lease and stuff. It's always different. I don't have the same signature ever.
Well, you got a couple months to prep. You got a month to prep. We're gonna workshop it.
Yeah, I got to like March. Okay.
So what is your thing or things or nothing? You could say fuck you. You could say fuck you.
I got two. I got three. All right, I got three.
Okay.
Because I like to talk about myself.
Hell yeah, I love
Number
listening.
one, I got to beat Elmo on the Giant Bomb stream.
Hell yes, that was a legendary
great
thing.
I got to get this drunk. I am a Twitch emote for Giant Bomb, drunk Elmo.
Wait, are you really? I did not know this.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
I'm one of their subscriber Twitch emotes. Two, I made it to the second to last round in Min-Max's Trivia Tower, which means they have to let me back next year when they do it again, as per Ben's rules. And three, I walked from the top of Manhattan to the bottom of Manhattan this year.
Oh.
Tippity top to the bippity bottom. If you watch Broad City, you know what that is.
It's a long walk.
It is. It took us all day. And that was just a cool thing to do. We started at the very top. So they started like further up than I did. I met the group of friends, but I still walked like 200 blocks. I made it all over to the park at the end.
What were some of the highlights from that walk?
We got dinner afterwards, and honestly, like I had never been so hungry and just craving a beer in my entire life. We walked the High Line, so we did like down and across. So we walked the High Line like across the city, and that was super nice while the sun was setting. And then just like there's a certain point when you're just walking a lot that you kind of just like get in the zone, and like no one's talking, and we're all just walking, and just like we all have a mission. And we're all just like on the same wavelength, and everyone's just chill. And we just like there's a certain point where we just hit a stride, and we cleared like 50 blocks in like 20 minutes.
Hell yeah.
Bro,
like we just
because you're talking about the zone, like I feel like one of the things we got to talk about is that crazy night that me and Jesse had at PAX East.
Yo, if we're talking about the best things in 2022, that is high on that.
Oh my goodness, that was this year.
Like,
wow.
That was this year.
Like,
yeah.
You know, like in games or in like stories where people are literally like their mind links connected. Like that was me and Jesse that night. We were literally on the same wavelength on everything. And part of it was just because we were probably like fucking tired as all hell because it was like 3, 4 in the morning. So we're just like in the Westin lobby, and like so much weird shit happened within the span.
There was biker gangs. There was Fat Thor. There was
a homeless dude who
was mad.
He just came through and and then like right when we're about to call it a night, this one girl comes is just bawling, and she was attending the show, and she was hanging out with a bunch of friends and her boyfriend, and basically she got in a fight with all of her roommates and her except for her boyfriend.
One of her roommates in the room was her boss. That was the other layer to this. It was like her boyfriend, her friend, and her boss.
Yeah, and they basically kicked her out and told her, "You need to sleep in your car tonight." And her boyfriend didn't do anything about it.
And then she ended up with us.
And then she ended,
She's
yeah,
been sitting in the circle with us.
Because like it got to the point where like some of us were so drunk, like so I forgot who it was, but someone was just like, "Are you okay? Like you want to hang out with us?" And we're just like, "Bro, she's just a stranger. Like what are you doing right now?" We were like both like.
Nah. Everyone's
Yeah.
even in the lobby, you know. Everyone that's the common ground.
It was just one of those things like mind your damn business, like, and then that extended the night like another 2 hours. We were just like, so it was ridiculous. Like we're not even going full depth into everything that happened,
Nope.
but it was wild.
No,
Cam and I
y'all
have
in your
been
car or
seeing y'all
not?
the next day was wild. Like y'all looked like you had been through something.
There are two very distinct memories I have of after that night. It was when we all went to bed. I finally get into the hotel. Mike and I we get into our room. Mike's like, I'm gonna go take a shower. It's like 5 a.m. at this point. I'm like, I'm going to bed. We have to be up in like 4 hours. We have like the last day of the show. I hear the police outside our door, and I hear like like the walkie, like the radio chatter, like
Yeah.
you can like hear. I just hear somebody like mumble something, and then a cop from outside our door go, "We lost him," and then just like walk down the hall.
What the?
And that's the last thing I heard before I went to sleep that night.
Ooh.
And then I
Oh my
woke up
God.
and I looked at Twitter, and I had a DM from one person we were with the night before, and he just he doesn't use Twitter. He DM'd me, "Bro, the sun is rising," and it was like 5:45 in the morning.
Nothing like a cold sunrise on a sunny Boston morning.
Oof.
Yeah, that night, I feel like all of you were very active in Discord as well towards the end of that evening, if I'm remembering correctly, or maybe this was just recap the next day. But
Well, because I know that Eric called it a night early.
Mhm.
Like he was gone
I was
pretty early.
comparatively early. I was out of there at
Yeah.
like 2 or something like that. It was before y'all, because we were in the lobby of my hotel, and then y'all were going across to go to the lobby of the other hotel.
That was
That's where
right
I
after the
I'm
Mounties kicked
calling
us
it.
out.
Yeah, that
When
was
the
after.
Mounties showed up.
Me,
Yeah,
Luis,
yeah.
and Mike were on our another adventure before all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like me,
Y'all
Luis,
really
and
had a
Mike,
night.
we have a bond now. Like we experience stuff, and we're just like, because we went to this like, there was like this party, this PAX party.
The Predator
we
party.
Yeah,
God,
Terrible
the
name.
worst
They have to
name
change that
party
name.
Worst name
ever.
possible.
Yeah.
Did they say
But-
Predator Party?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
it's the Acer Predator
computer
the
brain.
game.
It's a
Mhm.
it's a computer brain.
Oh, okay.
And
Everyone at PAX kept calling it the Predator Party.
Mhm.
And
I hate that.
like how, and for me, like, and I'm someone who grew up in Vegas, right? So like I would like to think I've seen some things on the strip, but like I saw shit waiting in that line for going into trying to get into that
What?
party that I've never seen before. Like, I saw like people like literally paying like the security to let them in, even though they were underage.
What?
I saw like people like I saw the security guards were like, I've been doing this for like 20 plus years, whatever. They don't even need like a scanner. They can look at that ID and they know if it's real or fake.
Mhm.
And then so we
Was
saw
this
these girls
outside the convention center?
This was
or-
outside the Predator.
This was at the
Predator
Royale.
party venue.
This was
Yeah.
at the Predator
Oh,
Party.
You see
Yeah.
people
Predator
like
Hotel.
these girls.
Mike
girls,
Mike is in the chat, and Mike said, "I was super disappointed to find out the party was not what I imagined it to be."
No, yeah. The girls hand them their ID, and then he just looks at it, and then he passes it to the other security guard, and that security guard will look at it, and then he just like laughs right in their face, like just like, and they're like literally just like, come on, let us in, blah blah blah, and then basically like without saying it, security guard's like, yo, you gotta pay me to get in here, and then like I saw some people pay
Oh my God.
and let them in, and I've seen other people that are like, get the step in, like go, like you're not coming in. That was wild. And then like there was this whole other thing. We were walking back, and then there was this girl who like lost her phone. She was gone. Like she was just gone. She lost her phone. We were trying to figure out where she lived, and she kept on giving us the wrong address. And then it got to a point where two of Mike's friends took her back to their room to stay the night and then for her to leave like in the morning. But she didn't even want to do that. Like, but she was like, so she went through this whole thing, and we were just like, making sure that she was okay, and then like it was crazy. So then by the time we got to the bar, which was across the street from the Westin, Mike buys Luis and I a drink, all three of us a drink. Apparently Mike had to pay $30 per drink
that bar, yeah.
for that at that bar.
It was
bar,
a $90 tab for 3 Jack and Cokes.
They do whatever they want at that bar. Like it's the Wild West at that bar.
It's super expensive, and every time we were in there, and granted this is probably because it was super crowded every night, but it was just a crapshoot as to whether you could actually get somebody's attention to get a drink or not.
All I'm saying is that I owe Mike like $25 when I see him at PAX East. I'm like, yo, dude.
Yeah.
Because he didn't tell me how much it was until I saw it on Twitter. I'm like, bro, $30? What? I need to like pay you back. Like, there's no way. But yeah, that was a crazy night. That was an insane night.
I think there was an element of like, that was kind of the first PAX East back from like years of not having it.
For sure.
And I think everybody just went really hard that weekend. Like there was an element of like, we've been out of the routine for so long, and we're all trying to jump back into it, and everybody's like, oh geez,
we're out of backed up.
Don't remember limitations. Yeah.
So this is our PAX. This is our PAX East 2022 recap episode. So you're just tuning in 10 months later.
Honestly, that was
or the PAX East.
I'm just here to listen. I wasn't there.
No, it's a wild story. Oh man, I'm just more, because I've heard the story. I'm more shocked that this was this year somehow. Like it just feels like that was a lifetime ago.
And it was like April too. Like it wasn't even like super early in the year. It was like mid
8 months ago.
But also I'm like stressing that like PAX is in 4 months, and I'm just
and this will be a cold one.
Like,
FYI, this will not be like this past PAX.
No, it's going to be like the
we survived PAX East during the snowstorm. We're good.
Yeah.
That 1 year where the snow was up to the parking meters.
My God. Oh, that was a bad year. I remember that. That was really bad. So yeah, I think that's the intros. I think we introed everybody. Jesse got through his 3 things.
48 minutes. Let's do it.
That's what we do.
That's what I loved and hated this year.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
I got to go back, hang out with my boy Tim. Does he let you out of that room, or are you just confined there?
I'm stuck here.
Okay.
There's no door.
Okay. We're gonna have to shimmy our way. I don't know where
Tim Sweeney does not like walled gardens, but he does like doorless rooms.
Tim Sweeney put me down and then put the room around me, and then I have to wait for him to deconstruct the room for me to leave.
This is the opposite of a Strand game, somehow. Before we get into the rest of this nonsensical episode, just a quick bit of housekeeping. The PTC Movie Club, which will be next week's episode, or the next episode after this, is Mike's pick for December, which is Bullet Train. So if you have not watched Bullet Train yet, and you want to hear us talk about Bullet Train, you have another week or so to check that out. It is on Netflix if you have Netflix and want to stream it, or you can get it however you get your movies. So Bullet Train is the next movie. And I know what my pick is for January, but you ain't getting that nonsense yet. You ain't getting a little head start. So Bullet Train is the movie club pick for December. So if you haven't, this is your last chance.
When do I get to pick a movie?
So there are a few things I've been debating, and guest movie club might be a thing. So some months we do double features, so we might roll in some guest double features. I think we have done a guest double feature before. I think Cam may have picked a movie at some point, and we just double featured it. So I feel like we can work that in, because we have done too many double features this year. Last month we had to watch Barbarian and Nope, and let me tell you, not how I want to spend my November. But
it's so funny because those 2 movies I watched last month, but it wasn't because of you guys' podcast. It was like I just randomly watched them, and I listened to you guys talk about it.
Yeah,
like, okay, I just feel like I'm part of the club now.
They're 2 very good movies.
Yeah, they were great. Like I love both of those movies. Like I usually agree with Todd more than you do. But
that's fine.
I like both of these movies, but
So here's a little like, so everyone in Passing Controller I've known for a long portion of my life. I went to high school with Mike and Dom, and I've known Todd for probably at least 15 years. I've probably known Todd almost as long as them. And I historically, this is like why PDC Movie Club sort of exists, is I historically do not watch movies. Like, that's just not really what I do with my time. And I value Todd's movie opinion because he's always, anytime I have watched a TV show or movie that Todd has recommended, I've always been like, oh, okay, Todd has good taste in movies and TV. Like, he knows how to pick them. And as we continue to do this, I'm like, maybe Todd has fucking bad taste, or maybe we just have different tastes. But I think mostly with Todd's picks, it seems to just be specifically like he wants to get me to like something from a genre he likes, and it's just never gonna happen for me. Because he has made us watch Hereditary, which I fucking hated, but I know that that's a minority opinion on that movie specifically, or Ari Aster films in particular. And
Midsommar too, right? Or no?
He wants us to watch Midsommar, and I keep like.
I mean, Hereditary
I think if you
miles
didn't,
better than Midsommar, in my opinion.
I think if you didn't like Hereditary, you're not gonna like Midsommar.
And that's probably what
that's
would
what I was
happen.
gonna say.
Oh, Mike in the chat said Cam picked The Wind Rises. Yes, we did an anime double feature in 1 month. I remember that now.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I just feel like that's an underrated. Like, I mean, even especially for Studio Ghibli, I feel like The Wind Rises, like I kind of teared up at the end of that movie.
Yeah, it's like a low key one.
And I think that it's just really cool. Like, it's like a biography, but it's an animated biography, like, biopic. And yeah, I thought it was a really, really good movie.
I mean, my hot take on Ghibli movies, I love Ghibli movies, but all of my favorite ones are the ones that are not like the ones that are lauded as like the best Ghibli movies, which those are all fine. But like, I typically, if I like say, oh, my favorite ones are not like the Howl's Moving Castles of the world.
Give me like a top three. Give me a top three.
Ooh, I mean, I haven't rewatched in a while, but I would normally say that my top is Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind. I love that movie.
Oh yeah, that's my top three. Yeah,
and I do like Mononoke, so that would probably be in the top three. And then, I don't know.
So far, we're like 2 for 2 on what we would have in our top three.
I like some of
Nausicaa, Mononoke, and Howl's.
I like some of the weirder ones that don't really get talked about, but I don't know if they would be in my top three. Like, I don't know. I enjoy things like the Cat Returns, even though I don't really think that's a good Ghibli movie, but like I enjoy it because I'm whatever. But I don't know. I mean, I like Totoro. I don't know if I like top 3 Totoro. I need to rewatch Spirited Away because I don't like that movie. I think that's actually not a good movie. But
wow. Okay.
It's one that I think is really, really good, but I have rarely found the occasion where I want to be like, I sit down and I'm like, I want to watch Spirited Away right now. Like, whereas I will absolutely sit down and be like, I want to watch Princess Mononoke right now, or I want to watch Nausicaa right now. But like Spirited Away, I have to be in like the right mindset for it, and I rarely find myself in that place.
Let me just pull up a quick list because I feel like I'm forgetting a movie.
I really need to watch. I think it's Castle in the Sky. Is the Lupin one?
I don't think I watched that one.
They did a Lupin movie, and I know that it's supposed to be quite good.
Yeah.
I feel like I just like the cute
it's
ones.
Castle of Cagliostro is what it's called.
Yeah, the Castle of Cagliostro. Yep.
Yeah, that's one I have not seen yet. I also have Porco Rosso. No, not Porco Rosso. Pompoko, in my like DVD shelf, and I haven't watched it yet.
I was let down by, Grave of the Fireflies.
That is not Ghibli.
I think it's one of the creators of Ghibli.
It's Ghibli.
Though.
It's not
like.
It's not Miyazaki.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not Miyazaki.
But it is under the Ghibli studio.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It's been like 2 decades since I've seen that movie.
That movie was always like hyped up for me, like, oh, you need to watch it. It's so good. It's so good. And I finally watched it like last year or 2 years ago, and I was like, all right, it's good, but not how it had been built up for me. Like to it.
It's just super sad.
It is very sad.
Are you more of like a Makoto Shinkai person? You like Your Name or like
I love
5 centimeters a second?
I haven't seen that second movie, but I love Your Name. And I also really liked fucking
Weathering with You.
I don't know. I can't remember that title.
So good.
Have you seen Summer Wars?
I have not seen Summer Wars. You mentioned Summer Wars on Blood God all the time.
Wars.
You always
Summer
name drop
Wars
that.
is like real talk, like a top 10, maybe a top 5 movie for me.
Really?
It is essentially, I think it's the same director did the Digimon movie, and it's almost the exact same plot, but like slightly different. And I like Summer Wars a lot because if you ever went on like summer vacations with family, it will like really hit for you in a way that is like I can't describe it, but if you have like a large family, it is going to hit in a way. Or if you've ever wanted a large family, it will also hit for you. It is an absolutely yeah. So it is like the A plot is the same as Digimon Our War Games, but it's also about like what if social media controlled facets of everyday life? Like what if your account that you used to log into Twitter was also the account that accessed traffic light controls if you were a traffic controller and stuff like that? And what would happen if someone gained control of those systems and social media overreached in that way? It's very interesting. It's very cool.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll put on my list. Mike said Summer Wars is just Digimon Our Wars game.
Yes. Yeah. I think it is by the same director, and they literally were just like, I'm going to make the same movie twice, or use the same A plot twice, and I respect that.
I don't know what my third would be. I guess I'll just say Totoro. I wish I liked Kiki's Delivery Service more, as I want to love that movie more, and I don't think it's that great. The cat needs more screen time. Anyways, there is our long-winded housekeeping, which is watch Bullet Train if you have not and you want to hear us talk about it. So I figure it doesn't really need to be any whatever straightforward thing here. We can kind of just talk about the things that made us happy in 20. What do we got?
Yo, okay, I'm like making sure this is real. I'm sorry. Do you want me to completely derail for a second?
That's what this show is just constantly off the rails.
News.
River City Girls 2 just came out, right? And I have not played it yet. I've been hearing good things, surprisingly. Because the first one I thought had some good ideas, but maybe was not always on top of it. I've been hearing very good things about this. So apparently in this game, you can hire assist characters to kind of like jump in from off screen and like tag in and assist, like, traditional tag game. In River City Girls 2, you can unlock Jam Kurodobori and Soul Bad Guy from Guilty Gear as hidden unlockable assists in New Game Plus. Yeah, I'm watching a video right now where they're doing like combo trials, and you just find these pixel art versions of Jam and Saul in the city. And they're like, yo, want to hire me to be your assist? And then you can just call them in. And it looks like Jam does that like forward kick that she does. If you play Guilty Gear, you know what I'm talking about. And then Saul does the what's it called? Where he does the flame breaker, where he like stabs the ground and it like erupts in flame across the screen.
I don't know the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
But it's in like the River City Girls style. This looks so sick. Oh my god, I'm retweeting onto my feed right now.
That is pretty cool. ArcSys works on River City, right? They do some. But I think Arc System works on it too.
Published it in Japan, I want to say.
Yeah, something like that.
Because I don't think they published it here. I think WayForward published it in America, but I want to say they handled publishing in Japan. I can check this real quick.
Interesting. I mean, that just makes me more excited for River City Girls.
This makes me want to go play this game right now. They're listed as one of the publishers on the game.
Interesting. So I figure we can just kind of roll through the things. I mean, if people want to just flat out say like this was your favorite game of the year or your game of the year, I mean, feel free. There's no pressure to do that. Like I had said, I think before we started recording, maybe before Eric was in here or not, but like Destructoid and Axe of the Blood God might have their games of the year, but that might not necessarily be what is your personal game of the year. Or Prima or Game Rant may have that situation as well. I think Jesse also, right before we went live, teased, so you can tease again, that you have your personal top 10 dropping on Monday. Is that what's happening?
Monday or Tuesday. I don't know what day it's going to go live. It's done. It's in the back end. It'll show up eventually.
Okay. I mean, you can refrain from revealing any information off that list then if you want to like just talk about other things that made you a happy guy this year.
I mean, it's no secret. I talk about all the things I like anyway, so it's like people will read that list and know exactly. Like, people should know that list already.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's Frog Detective in 10 slots.
Frog Detective is on that list. If we're talking real talk, Frog Detective 3 is on that list.
Is How Does the Shrimp Get Made on the list?
You want to just go through my whole list, I guess. I mean, that's also on my list.
I
How
didn't know if
Fish
you
is Made is also on my list.
What did I say? How
Um,
shrimp get made? That's the
Yeah,
sequel.
How Shrimp
That's the
Gets Made.
sequel. So
No, Frog Detective 3 is the funniest game I've played all year.
It is really funny. Like
It's
really,
really
really
fucking funny.
in ways that High on Life wishes it could be funny. Like
It's got this
Oh,
like
gosh.
weird wears its heart on its sleeve,
mhm.
like dry sense of humor.
can we talk
That is
about the
just
fact that Astra's
absurd.
on the podcast right now? What is happening? He's
Yo,
Heck
Astra,
yeah.
what was your favorite game of 2022?
Yo, hit me with the
Yo.
favorite game.
Oh, come on.
No,
What did you
Astra,
watch?
it's
Paparazzi
incredible
was 2 years ago.
because Astra's
We need a different one.
legit like
Did you
at
like
the
She-Hulk
microphone.
Perfectly
ending?
framed. Yeah.
That was so good. I should have screenshotted that and I didn't.
Damn it.
Oh, if only we were on a live stream where you could go back and clip it.
Yeah,
That
if only
sounds like a
VODs
lot of
existed
work.
on Twitch.
That
Yeah.
sounds like a lot of work.
I love how the chair's
timestamp.
just spinning still.
I'll tell you my favorite album of the year.
Ooh, that's what I'd like to hear.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite album of the year. I've been stewing on this a lot. You know, I was going back and forth. A lot of good albums came out this year. But I think the album I listened to the most and the one that I loved the most was 40 Ounces to Fresno's, the new Joyce Manor album. That is probably the one that got like my most listens.
Okay.
It's short, it's sweet. It's what you love about Joyce Manor, where their whole album is like 19 minutes long.
What genre is this? I don't know who Joyce Manor is.
I would say that they're like, depending on the album you listen to, like most wholeheartedly, they're like emo punk.
I
guess,
remember
is
them
what
from the
you call it.
Eminem album that came out a few years ago.
The Eminem
There was a
album.
song they did. There's a song I think Joyce Manor did with Eminem a couple years ago.
Huh.
I don't know
That name
about
sounds
this.
so familiar.
I have to look.
I also, but I
but-
also don't know Joyce
Am I
Manor,
making
so
that up?
it wouldn't have
Yeah.
stuck with me.
I don't.
Like they'd be best described as like Jesse was saying, short, fast songs, get in, get out. Like that very much like punk mentality of the song is what the song is.
Mhm.
And but they
don't
do
write
have
Like they just write fucking verse, chorus, out.
yeah, which is honestly like really refreshing to see if you're like me and you do like some of that older style of punk and you haven't really seen a lot of that in, let's say, like a post-American Idiot world where punk has become pretty like radio friendly, and not to say that like Joyce Manor is very much like more appealing than you would find like some of the grimier, more hardcore stuff, but it manages to strike a balance that I think is resonating with a lot of people, because this was the year that I finally got around to listening to them and really found a lot to like out of them. So
Add it to my list.
You listen to
I was-
Fiddlar,
I was-
you would like Joyce Manor.
I was thinking of Joyner Lucas, someone completely
Very
different.
Yes,
different. Very
yes.
different.
Like,
I was gonna say, like, what are
Doesn't
these
sound
Sacramento
familiar,
kids
but-
doing showing up on an
it's
Eminem
close
album?
enough.
Yeah, Joyner Lucas is.
I don't really know who
from
he even
Massachusetts.
is. I just know him from that one song.
He's from Massachusetts.
okay.
He's a Boston rapper. One for the home team. I mean, I'll throw. It's tough. Actually, I am surprised that Jesse didn't go to bat for Midnights here. I feel like Jesse's a big Tay Swift fan.
Or my AirPods dying
I'm all in
already.
for Midnights. That's my number one for sure.
It's not my favorite Taylor album. That's like
Okay.
I think my problem.
What is your
I
favorite
think,
Taylor
like-
album? Folklore? I don't know why I said that. That's like the
Folklore-
only name I know.
You're not wrong. I mean, like, I think
Folklore
Folklore
is
is
really
like,
good.
though. Yeah.
Folklore
Yeah.
is like I feel like my favorite Taylor
My-
era.
It's my top
Uh,
3 for me.
Yeah, but I'm also like a big Speak Now guy. Like I love Speak Now, and that's an unpopular opinion. But yeah, I don't know. Folklore is up there. I didn't love Evermore as much as I loved Folklore, but I don't know. It's something about Midnights is like she samples herself a lot. Like that album is a lot of her sampling her own stuff, and they all kind of just they feel like all the songs feel like homogenous in a weird way. I feel like very few of them I'm like, yeah, yo, this is a certified banger. I feel like you have to listen to that album in full a lot of the time, and you're kind of like, what's the name of this one again? Oh, I thought this was the other one. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I like it. I listen to it a lot. Not my favorite Taylor album.
that's
though.
fair. That's fair. That's your album of the year, Grayson? Midnights?
Yeah, it's I don't know yet if it's my favorite Taylor Swift album because I'm probably a big 1989 fan, and like Folklore, probably Folklore, 1899, and Midnights are probably like my top 3 albums for her. And I get what Jesse's saying, how they all kind of sound same-ish, but like this is just like so it's not so different than what she's done, but she just throws together so much stuff that she's done before. It's this one album that kind of combines different album eras, and it's just it's kind of like a top hit sort of Taylor thing where she kind of just like takes a little bit from 1989, takes a little bit from Reputation, takes a little bit from Speak Now, and like Folklore, and just throws it up into this weird electronic like experimental album. I think I really like it a lot because it's like her trying something new a little bit. And I can listen to that whole thing through now. Like I don't love every single song. Like some of them took a long time to grow on me, but like the first half of that album is like so strong for me. Or like no skips at all.
We got to stop letting Jack Antonoff do things. I think I'm done with Jack Antonoff.
I like it.
Jack's got to go.
Is that the
Jack's
Bleachers
gotta
guy?
go.
Is that Bleachers?
Yeah.
Okay.
He does a lot of Lana Del Rey music too, and I haven't liked her recent albums a lot, but it's pretty good.
The song that Taylor and Lana have together is pretty good.
Like Beaches or something?
Snow on the Beach or whatever.
Yeah.
Snow on the Beach. Yeah, it's a pretty pretty song. People are complaining that Lana wasn't on there enough, but it's okay. It's okay.
Lana was on there plenty. Lana was
it was fine. It was fine.
Anyone else have an album they want to mention before we move along?
I mean, I'm pretty bad about listening to modern music.
That's
like
fine. What got the most rotation from you this year then?
Well, I mean, this was really the year that I finally listened to Jesse Vitelli, who has better music taste than me.
Oh, wow.
And I will put that on podcast record. And finally got into Turnstile. So I got into their album from last year. And really just, I think they are the band that has most like exploded onto my radar.
Okay.
There was another album. I'm trying to remember the name of it. So give me like 2 seconds here while I pull up my Spotify.
I can't believe that you don't have all this information immediately ready in your head.
But my album of this year, if I had to pick one from this year, would be Pool Kids self-titled. I do not hide the fact that I am a massive fan of Pool Kids. I think they are like one of the most exciting new acts around. It is like, what if Paramore got into math rock, or not even math rock, it's not that complex, but it's more like twinkly guitars and really like interesting complicated riffs, but also like I think their EP that they had before this had a lot of that sort of like, here's some twinkly guitar riffs and some heavy stuff and going through a bunch of different ideas, and it was really inventive and interesting. But the self-titled album is where they actually got some production behind them, but they also like really started to explore the breadth of what their sound could be. So you have a song like Arm's Length, which is one of my favorites from that, and it's very much like rocking, get up, get out, like get out of bed. I don't have the energy to get out of my bed today, like just like pounding guitars and stuff. And then you go to something like I Hope You're Right, which is my favorite track on the album. And it's like deep and moody, and it's just constantly building up to this big breakdown at the end. And it's really impressive to see a band that is having a moment also be so willing to explore like the space of what they can be and the breadth of what they can be. I still feel like there's so much of what they can do. Everyone in that band is incredibly talented. And I saw them live once this year. I'm going to see them live again next year. I already have the tickets locked in, so I'm very excited for that. I think they are a band to watch if you like that stuff. So
hell yeah. I think for me, my favorite, definitely the thing I listened to the most this year that came out this year was Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Kendrick Lamar's newest album, which I don't know if it's the best Kendrick Lamar album. I'd have to think about that a little bit more, but I think that it has easily some of my favorite of his songs ever. A few that hit really hard. Like that album came out for me at a perfect time. It came out, I think, in like April or something. PAX was April? Yeah. So it must have came out like June or July.
More like June or July, yeah.
And that hit like literally, I don't even think he was promoted. Like there was no release date for this album. It was kind of just like, he's definitely going to release an album soon. It's like kind of rumored, teased. And I happened to be the first like vacation of any sort, quote unquote vacation of any sort, that I've taken since COVID. Jen and I drove up to Vermont, and the first night we were in Vermont, this shit dropped at like fucking midnight, and I was like, oh no, I'm very drunk right now. Oh no. And I just laid in bed. Jen was passed out, and I was just like in my feelings, so fucking drunk, just listening to this album. And I was like, oh man, tomorrow's going to be so good. And I played that album on repeat the entire time we were in Vermont in the car. And Jen was like, can we please listen to something else? It's good, but please put something else on. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm having a spiritual awakening right now. But I also really enjoyed King Princess's newest album, Hold On Baby. I don't know if anyone fucks with King Princess, but
There's some of her songs I think I've heard before.
yeah, they have some good music. I also listen to a lot of old music this year. I mean, I will say, I don't saying Weezer get a lot of hate. Weezer put out 4 albums this year, and there's some good music.
Really?
So they did an interesting concept called seasons. So they've released an album each season. So they have like spring, summer, winter, fall.
Yeah.
And they wrote it in real time. So it wasn't like they like wrote and recorded it as it was coming out. They weren't just like, we made 4 albums and we're going to wait to release them throughout the year. It's like, we're going to make them like as the year is going on. And there's some good stuff in there. I like Weezer. I think this is the best modern Weezer has been in a long time, which is good for me because I enjoy Weezer. Lupe Fiasco had a good album. And I listened to a lot of the We Are OFK album. Like, that's by far one of my favorite games of this year, even though like I struggle to call it a game because it's just not a game, but it's just one of my favorite experiences from the year. Like, I don't know what that game will be to me on my, games of the year, but that game is a good experience, and that music is phenomenal. Ryan, friend of the program, Ryan Tatum in the chat said PEP or PEP by Lights was the album of the year, just so we know. I don't know what any of those words mean, but sure, I'll give it a shot.
Was it by Lights, you said?
Lights, yeah.
Well, once upon a time, I did listen to a lot of Lights. So.
Okay.
I think I saw Lights open up for Chance the Rapper. Is that a thing that would happen?
That doesn't sound completely out of the bound of limits. Lights is like, if I'm thinking of the right person, she got really popular in like the sort of emo era of the early 2000s as like she did a lot of like acoustic songs and like very, very like if you were to somehow put Taylor Swift in a vat that said emo pop punk on the side of it and just dip her in and pull her back out, you would get Lights. So
okay.
Kind of want to listen to her. It sounds
she's good. She's got some good songs.
Oh yeah, I've actually heard her stuff before. Like really old.
You've heard
music,
her stuff. You have definitely seen pictures of her because I feel like she became like the poster girl of that era. So
okay, I'll take your word for it.
She was all over MySpace and stuff.
Yeah, she's been around for a while. Like low key, just
doing her thing. Respect that.
What about you, Cam? Anything music wise?
So for me, like I honestly like as someone who like, was a musician technically is a musician, and for over half my life, I don't listen to music that often because I just like I don't like listening to it when I'm playing video games because I'm like, well, there's video game music, and I don't want to like get distracted by like I don't know. It's just like it's just a kind of like a attention span thing. I'm like I don't like to listen to music while I play games. But I'm also like when I do listen to music, I kind of get asphyxiated on like a single like artist, and like starting in like I think it was like 2020, the pandemic. Me and my wife Celia, we got super into K-pop, and we still are. She's like way more into it than I am, but like, there's definitely a point that I thought I would never get to in K-pop with like just observing her and like how she like, would consume like not just K-pop music, but also just like other media, like watching YouTube videos of like them doing stuff, and like they have like programs that like focus around certain like the groups and stuff, and I was just like, oh, I'll never get like that bad. But then I just got not bad, but I would never get to that point.
And then a slippery slope.
And then I discovered Twice, which is they're like a lot of people in America know Blackpink, right? Blackpink is like in America the most well-known female K-pop group, but Twice is the biggest one in the world. Twice is Twice is the big one. and I, got exposed to Twice, and they've been a group for. They actually just celebrated their 7th anniversary this year, and I got exposed to them like early into this year, and like that is almost all I have listened to this entire year. I've just been completely obsessed with Twice. Like,
Is it a
I
guy
know
group or like a?
it's a girl group.
Okay.
And I know all their names. I know I've watched like all of their like YouTube content. Like it's yeah, and I wanted to try and go and see them back in May. They did like an encore after they finished their recent world tour, and it was in LA. And I really wanted to go, but just couldn't make it work. They did release a new EP. Um, I think they released it in August. And it was good, like it was solid. And they did release a Japanese album as well, because some K-pop groups, they have like a Japanese they released Japanese tracks and stuff like that, and that was kind of like them celebrating their 7th anniversary, and that was really cool because like in when it comes to like female K-pop groups, it's kind of like a known curse in the industry, or like not really a curse, but like it's very rare that girl groups pass 7 years. After 7 years, normally they break up or they go their separate ways. So this is kind of like this was like a big milestone for not just them but for the industry. And so that was really cool. And yeah, I absolutely love Twice, but then I've also got exposed to like some other groups from my wife that I really really enjoy. One I'm wearing actually the shirt for one of them. It's a band called The Rose. There's like a 4-person Korean indie band, really really good. I got to we got to go see them in San Francisco, like literally like maybe a month or so ago. Really really good show. Like almost all the songs that they play I really enjoyed. Like, and being an indie group, I was like, okay, I want to support them, so I bought a shirt. Even though it was like $50, but I was just like, yo, like I want to support this group. And they're really good. I highly recommend, if you just like general like indie rock, like I'll check out The Rose. They're a good vibe. And then I know that nowadays there's kind of like a stigma to liking him, but I'm a big Logic fan. I think his first 2 albums, Under Pressure and Incredible True Story, are like 10 out of 10 albums to this day. I think Everybody, which is his 3rd album, gets too much hate. I don't think it, like, it definitely is not perfect. It definitely has some glaring issues, but I really enjoy that album. And and he said he was going to retire with his No Pressure album in 2020 because he got a kid and all that stuff. But he did come back and he did release a new album called Vinyl Days. It was all right. It's not what I wanted from Logic. I think the thing that made Logic really interesting to me is that like it felt like every album was like a really interesting concept, and he's kind of like strayed away from that now, and he's just kind of just doing what he wants, which I feel like is what he's always done, but like he's just kind of like a big question mark all the time. And just the recent stuff that he's released, just not particularly my thing. I really liked No Pressure because it was kind of like this sequel to Under Pressure, but and he has some great mixtapes that he released, like the Bobby Tarantino mixtapes I really like, but just this most recent one I just didn't really vibe with that much. But yeah, that's really all I really listened to music wise this year. But Twice is dropping a new album in March. Happy birthday to me! And I think they're going to go on another world tour soon. So hopefully I'll be able to see them by this time next year.
Hell yeah, that's exciting. So this was an unexpected, delicious segment that I appreciate because I love music, and I will always like a lot of these things that everyone had brought up. I'm gonna look into some things because I like experiencing new music whenever I can. Like my main focus is in hip hop and rap, but pretty much as long as you're not country music, I will listen and try to
Brenden, we gotta
I'll give
get
it
you
a
on
shot.
some. I can get you on some country music.
like
Rock
old
me,
country
mama,
or
like a
new
wagon
country.
wheel.
There's you've heard the stick season guy, right? Like I love her mom, but it's the season of the sticks now. You hear
Noah
that guy?
Khan.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, he's good. I like him.
No.
And I'd consider him roughly country, like in the realm of country.
Yeah, he's definitely like less country than a lot of other
Yeah,
artists.
like-
I
like-
would put him in like weird in like the folk.
Yeah,
like,
that's
that. He's
that's
like pop
the thing.
folk.
Is like country, like there are branching points. We were talking about this the other night actually, that country changed after 9/11. That is like the easiest place to like market right there,
Where it
because
became like super America, like
well, yeah, so number one, it became super patriotic, love the troops, love the flag, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And every artist who did that made a ton of money and kept going for it. Meanwhile, on the other side, you had the chicks who got in trouble for saying that George Bush was a bad person. My God. But a lot of country started because country, like its roots was out of blues, out of like folk in a lot of cases too. Like it was this expression of maybe not necessarily fighting against power structures, but definitely like coming from a place of people who were more concerned about their immediate surroundings and the things that they could do, and not necessarily about this idea of like, oh, well, we've got to write songs about love to ride tractor. I actually do like some of the cheesier pop country songs that have come out that are like the save a horse, ride a cowboy. And so like those are just goofy fun. But I do feel like folk has like maybe crossed with Western a little bit, and you're seeing some of that. I mean, even stuff like Haim is a really popular pop band that I feel like has some inspiration from those Baptist roots, those Western roots that you can hear in some of the songs that they've done recently. And I do think a lot of people are moving that way. And obviously, like Taylor Swift started out as a very like country artist, went pop, and I actually think Folklore was super interesting because it was almost not just her going to that sort of like Bon Iver out in the woods cabin type approach, but like maybe re-examining what country is in the modern day. And so I think stuff like Noah Khan, I think his name was.
Noah Khan.
Yeah. His music has been interesting because it is like kind of playing with those boundaries and where those Venn diagrams intersect. So it's a wider painting country with a wide brush is like painting rap or hip hop with a wide brush.
100%, 100%. No, and I totally get that. Like I like some
Applebee's
southern
song.
rock. No, I hate the Applebee's
song.
song.
Yeah,
I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm picky with my
patriotic.
I'm picky with my pop music though. Like I like pop music, but I'm very picky with it. EDM is like the other thing I don't really get down with. I love music. It's just I gotta draw a line somewhere. There's gotta be a hard out. I do like some southern.
You know what
rock,
has
though.
really bad music? Crisis Core.
You're not wrong.
Are we dragging the wheel? Are we dragging the wheel into video games already?
Too.
There was a non.
No, I just
Yeah,
thought it would be funny and an easy pot shot to take a Crisis Core.
Damn. I'm gonna
And the voice
gonna
acting
clip
too.
that and share it on Twitter.
Well, yeah, the voice acting's real rough.
There's some conversations you have, and you're like, who approved this? There's like a 10-second pause between what they say. It's like, oh, and then some girl's like, Cloud, Dak, and then like 5 seconds later will pass, and then it's just like
game.
the worst conversation. I know, but it's
PSP
remastered.
game.
No,
Like,
no. You don't get the PSP.
Like,
I know. They're not gonna.
They didn't change any of the animations, or like they didn't change that stuff. It's
But
just,
isn't the voice acting new?
Zach's voice
yeah,
acting.
but
Or am I
that doesn't,
making
they
that up?
can't stop the pauses
really?
or anything that the PSP stuff that like.
Can't you?
So here's the thing. Here's the thing about Crisis Core. Crisis Core doesn't get it's a PSP game when you put the reunion title on it. when you put the RE title on it and you're like, this is Reunion. It fits the moniker of remake and rebirth.
Yeah,
You are
yeah.
now putting it in a different category.
There is an
It is
element
no
of
longer just
I disagree.
there is an element of
You
like
have
wanting
it,
to
you
have
get
the
this.
cake and eat it too.
You
That
don't
was
get that. Yeah,
So
It's
yeah.
just
you're not
it's
allowed
just
to have that.
I love how
it's
we're
just a
talking about this
remaster
now.
that was given more assets than your typical remaster.
let me.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
Right, but it's still
Yeah,
bad.
let me put this
Yeah,
out there because this is something we talked about. We just did all of our Blood God end of year wrap up stuff, and this was something we kept coming back to, which was Square was all over the place when it came to remasters this year because you had
all over the
some
place in
really
general. I mean,
some loving projects like Live Alive and Tactics Ogre Reborn that I think really did a good job of preserving, or in some like in the case of Live Alive, like honestly creating a new love and appreciation for the guts of that thing with a new look, a new style, like so new contents, like just so much love put into that. And then there were things like Valkyrie Elysium not even having the remaster of the PSP game it was going to have when it was supposed to launch. And
Yeah, that came out yesterday?
yeah,
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 I
they
mean,
had to
Harvestella kind of just came out.
yeah, I mean, I'm talking specifically about like their remaster projects because they're doing
Okay,
a lot of
yeah.
them now, but the
Was
scale
Chrono
at
Cross
which they're
this year?
doing them. Yeah, Chrono Cross is this year and had a lot of people going, well, it's nice to have Radical Dreamers in this package, but
So
and that's kind of the thing is like I think a lot of companies are now suddenly doing these remasters and learning that there are a lot of different scales at which you can do them, and not all of them need the love and attention, right? Like some of them you can just kind of repackage and put back out and it's mostly fine, but there are a lot of cases, even like with Kingdom Hearts going onto the Switch, which I think was an absolute train wreck. That it was just kind of all over the place, and it there was a clear delineation of like some things got a lot of resources and a lot of love, some things were misguided, let's say.
the thing I want to add to this conversation, because I have not played Crisis Core, my December plan was finish Ragnarok so that I could have time to play Midnight Suns and Crisis Core. And I was really looking forward to Crisis Core because I was like, you know what, like as much as I like to critique remake, I really do like that game, and it gave me a love for Final Fantasy VII that I previously did not have because I never played Final Fantasy VII. Asterisk, after I beat remake, I then went and played through all of the original game so I could have the full thing in my brain. Does this reunion, does it need to exist? Like, does it need to be there? Especially because remake is like a retelling of these stories.
So I'm gonna say my opinion first because I think I'm gonna be in the dissenting opinion. I think that with the context of remake, I think yes, simply so people know Zach's character.
Okay.
I agree with that.
I really don't think like in any other way. Like maybe there might be some mention or return of Angeal and Genesis in some way because they already teased that in the Rebirth trailer, but like it really is just, it's not really about the story. It's more about the characters that and specifically Zach, where spoiler warning for Final Fantasy VII remake, Zach is alive. In like the way that we understand it, we're not 100% sure, but obviously them showing him alive is going to mean something for the overarching story moving forward. And I think that people want to, you want to know, for those that don't know Zach, to know what his character and his story was up to this point, so you get that sense of character, because a lot of people really really love Zach, and also just Zach's tie-in with Cloud, which for people that haven't played, I mean, if you play Crisis Core, you're gonna know a good amount, but like for those that haven't played Crisis Core and never played the original Final Fantasy VII, there's like Cloud and Zach are really like important, like their connection together is really important. especially for Cloud's
roommates.
character. So it's just one of those things that like, that's why I'm not really upset with the like everything that they did for this remaster makes sense to me. They replaced the voice actors with the remake voice actors, so that because you know they want it to kind of be this compendium, right, of games. But they didn't like do a full on remake because it's just not necessary. It's just not necessary. And so they just wanted everything to be kind of like parallel with each other when it came to the characters, voice actors and stuff. I don't know if Sephiroth's voice actor was also re-recorded their lines. I know Zack and Aerith, you know, did, but I don't know about any of the other characters.
I actually don't. I didn't check.
So I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I think that it's necessary. But I think that like everything that they did, you know, I think that they wanted to make this be as close to remake feeling as possible with like the HUD and like, you know, all that the all that
combat and stuff.
the combat and stuff. But like ultimately, I think it's really just to know the characters going into Rebirth.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with the majority of your points there. Like I do think like knowing Zack is important, and like obviously it's going to play some sort of significant role in Rebirth. I think like my problem with Crisis Core is like indicative of a larger Square problem, which is what we were just talking about earlier, where it's like they put out this remaster, and that's totally fine. Like a remaster of Crisis Core is more than enough. I agree. Like I didn't need much more. But I think when you like you're like, we're remastering Crisis Core. It's in it's in the same presentation as Rebirth and all this stuff, and we're putting the reunion title on it. I think you are setting an expectation, whether you mean to or not. I do think it is like we're putting reunion on it. It is part of this larger package. It's not getting as much work, but also like we're gonna like it's the word I use is inconsistent. Like I think it looked really good in some regards, and there's like you can be like, oh, they had ambitions for this thing. They had plans for this thing. This thing can look really good. It can sound really good. And then they like constantly go back and forth between like, oh, it's just a PSP. Like it's a PSP game is like what they use when they're like, oh, we didn't do as much work to this area. It's a PSP game. It doesn't need it. But then it's like, oh, but we're a reunion. We're part of this. We're part of the remake and the rebirth, and we're part of this whole thing. And it's like it just ping pongs back and forth instead of them just being like, we remastered Crisis Core. It's on modern consoles now. They like wanted to have their cake and eat it too. And I think when you put the RE branding on something now for Final Fantasy, it's like you're setting a certain expectation. And I'm not upset that it's less than a remake. It doesn't need it, but I think like their messaging around it and everything was just weird. Like it could have just been, we've remastered Crisis Core. We didn't have to put a new title on it. We didn't have to do anything. Crisis Core is out. Go fucking play Crisis Core. And like with the way that Crisis Core Reunion plays out, I don't understand what the larger picture is here for that. Like you understand Zack's character, yes, but I also don't think Crisis Core gives you a ton to work with in regards to Zack. Like a lot of those cutscenes are like stilted. They are very much of an era, and I just like I don't know, that game just didn't do it for me. It just didn't.
Well, I think the curious thing about Crisis Core is that it was like from an era when Square was like just releasing Final Fantasy VII content, right?
You're milking
and
it, right? Like
I mean, like
not,
it was
not as much as they could have, I guess.
Well, let's not compare Crisis Core to Dirge of Cerberus here. You know what I mean?
Well, but I mean they're of like the same drive to like it's Square, you know, messing around with the idea of doing more in their universes without necessarily the sort of massive undertaking that something like the remake trilogy is turning out to be. And I think that's interesting, but then I do think the question gets raised of what are you doing with it if you're just putting it back out there? Because by the same logic that, you know, we need this game to know more about Zack, also everything in the rebuild, the remake series, almost called it rebuild like Evangelion, is like changing what has happened. So really not a lot of that matters up to that point outside of like some lore tidbits. And
Yeah,
like
they're giving us a
Black
canon
Keys. The
story
characters are
about him.
still- the characterizations are the same though.
Yeah, but my understanding of Crisis, and to be absolutely clear here, I just know like what happens in Crisis Core. I've never played through it myself, because I just I like Final Fantasy VII like within that, but most of the external media around it has not really like drawn me in any way. And I don't know that it is super necessary, and especially the fact that this is just it's the game again. You know, it's just the game available on more things, but they're trying to frame it in that way of like you could consider it part of the rebuilds of the remakes. Like their messaging was kind of all over the place where they were like, oh, there's nothing new in it, but it because it's being released now, you could consider it part of that, and we're going to name it Reunion and things like that. And it makes me go like, Square, you can just come out and say, look, 7's hot right now, the new one's not coming out for a little bit, here's Crisis Core. Have fun with Crisis Core.
It really
and just
does.
be like, we're putting it out because we can put it out. And
But I also think that like, you know, I get what you're saying about the whole name thing, but also if say that they didn't do that right for a general like someone who's like not as into Final Fantasy 7 as we are, but like they
might think it's like a sequel or something.
Well, not even that. They might not even think it's associated.
Well, that's what
in any way.
But I think
and so. Like, I was gonna say like if they didn't have the Reunion name and they just saw like, oh, Crisis Core Final Fantasy 7 or whatever, like they'd be like, oh, is this connected, or oh, this is a remaster of something else? Like they wouldn't know that they wouldn't know for certain.
Or they might think it's the second part too, or something.
Yeah, that would be like the one situation I could see them running into.
Yeah,
but that was the problem they had with the original too. So.
Yeah, or even so, just like, oh, it's not relevant to what is going to happen in remake. You know what happened in remake or what's going to happen in Rebirth when it is like, because Zack, that was like the big reveal at the end of the game, right? It's like, oh, Zack's alive, and like, and we
right, but Zack existed in Final Fantasy VII before Crisis Core ever happened. Like Zack was a character. It's just Zack wasn't a massive character. Zack was basically like a bullet point in the original Final Fantasy
Zack
VII.
was like Zack was a plot point, a character like that was like in flashbacks, like he was dead. So at that point, so like, but now it's different, and you know, so it is going to be really important to see like.
Are they just going to kill Cloud? Is that why they're doing this? Are they just going to kill Cloud?
No.
Is that what's going to happen?
No.
You think Sephiroth's just going to come down and stab Cloud?
I hope so.
I'd be into
That'd
that.
be sick.
Zack's gonna come down and stab Cloud, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Ooh, that I can get down with.
Their game is just Zack and Aerith.
Here's what I think is the reality. Is I think it's a little bit of both. It's the arguments that Cam is making, but it's also the arguments that Eric and Jesse were making. It's they framed and marketed this game in a way to try to continue the hype and the success of remake. They want all parties to buy this.
They want everyone to still be excited for the next remake, because
you know it's a little nefarious. It's a little nefarious to do it that way. You know what I mean? But that's the business side of probably why they did it that way. Mm-hmm. But I also think, like, again, not having played the original Crisis Core and not playing this new one yet, I will play it at some point. But it seems like one of two things. One, this game will, in the long run of the 3 Final Fantasy parts for 7 that they're making, right? It's a trilogy they're making.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean,
sure.
No, they've said 3.
Yeah,
it is going to be. I don't want to say irrelevant, but if you don't play Crisis Core, you will be fine. That is my take. That there's no way that the story of Crisis Core is going to be paramount to you playing Rebirth and whatever the third one is.
I wasn't saying the story. I was saying the character.
No, I know.
Yeah,
but I think even
it's not paramount, though.
I think even that it's going to be and I'll say something that I don't want to talk about after I say these words. I want to just move on from the thought. That's fair. It's going to be like how, well, maybe not even to this extent, because I'm sure there is a lot more within. But if you were to play Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3, I think you would get the overall thing.
No.
Again, yes, I'm sure there's more in those spin-off
You
games.
said the worst
I
series
know.
you could
I don't want
have
to talk about it, but I have to say that because it's Nomura, and Nomura's doing these games. Did Nomura do Crisis Core Reunion or no?
But the Nomura thing, there was a lot of chatter about this recently. I do think the Nomura stuff gets like tossed around a little bit too readily, where it's like, oh, it's Nomura, and it's like it's not just Nomura. This is like a broader Square thing of like, I think Square as an entire company right now is trying to figure out what the fuck it's doing. Because if you look back at this last year, it just blunderbust out like 14 RPGs over the course of the year. Like there were so many different games.
We got Harvestella. We got Various Day Life. We got
Dio Field, different Voice of Cards games.
Star Ocean, is that Square Enix?
Star Ocean was one. Yes,
right.
Chocobo GP lived and died in the year 2022.
Yeah.
Babylon's Fall.
Babylon's Fall also lived and died.
Oh my, that was this year.
Yeah, it's like Square is in a very strange position because it does feel like
treasure.
Remember the Quiet Man?
Oh, the Quiet Man. It's
You
very
got
strange.
arrested twice.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's whatever.
Square's all over the place.
Yeah,
it's really strange because they clearly have like some heavy hitters lined up, right? Like in 2023, if everything goes according to plan, we will have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We will have Final Fantasy 16. We'll have Forspoken, and theoretically, we'll have a Final Fantasy 14 expansion. Whether that holds true or not, we'll see. But theoretically, a Final Fantasy 14 expansion. It's a big year for Square. That is like 3.5 big games, and I'm very curious to see. Number one, if that lands, and number two, like what they're going to do with all the stuff they did this year, because it really did. It felt like they took a lot of projects that were either on the burner or just in a room somewhere being theory crafted, being put together, and they were like, get it out the door. We're not getting any major games out this year besides like Stranger of Paradise, so everything's got to move out the door now. And
was Dungeon Encounters this year too?
No, that was 2021.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
we did have,
that game was a banger. Let me
did
tell
have
you.
Tactics Ogre this year though. That's Square.
Yeah, Tactics Ogre was this year.
Yep. Front Mission remake.
So Front Mission's in a weird place.
Nobody said Triangle Strategy, right? That was also this year.
Triangle Strategy was this year. Yeah. That was probably the other like next to Stranger of Paradise. That was probably the largest Square release. It did really well. So, yeah. Did well for a tactics RPG. It's just a bizarre year for Square Enix, and I like the Crisis Core thing feels like the cherry on top of like, I wonder what the future looks like for this company, especially now that they are so like doubled down on their Japanese development, now that they don't have Crystal Dynamics, Square Enix Montreal, some of those studios to kind of do other things like Tomb Raider or Guardians or things like that. Curious to see where this goes from here.
More Dragon Quest, please give me more Dragon Quest.
I mean, yeah, hey, we're maybe going to hear about 12 this next year. We're definitely not going to see 12.
Is 12 a Switch exclusive? I don't remember.
No,
but it is coming to Switch though.
I don't know.
Wasn't it revealed in a Nintendo Direct?
No, it was revealed at the Square the Dragon Quest anniversary event.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Slime Drip event.
That was Slime Drip.
Okay.
It does not look like
the combat to real time.
Yeah, it does not look like platforms have been announced yet.
So I'm gonna pull back my specifically the Nomura comment about that and the Kingdom Hearts aside.
Nope,
I think
you can't pull it back.
That's fine. I think in the long run, I don't think this Crisis Core thing is going to matter to you if you just play, because I'm sure they will do other mid-release things. I mean, they did Intergrade, they did Reunion. I'm sure there'll be other stuff between 2 and 3, if not something else between 1 and 2.
Flashbacks or something.
I think you
can you imagine we get Dirge of Cerberus?
Intergrade wasn't Intergrade.
I never played it.
Dirge stuff.
Intergrade had a character in it from Dirge of Cerberus.
Weiss.
Yeah. I mean, we also theoretically have Ever Crisis coming at some point, which will be like some sort of weird metaverse thing that's like bringing it all together. Yeah, I don't know. It is strange. Like I like Final Fantasy VII a lot. I think the remake's extremely good. But I am like really curious to see where they end up going with all this and what they end up doing, because I also think that Square's just in a weird spot.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Let's talk about something other than-
I agree. Square's in a weird spot, but also I'm just like, yo, keep releasing those remasters on Switch. I will eat them up.
Yeah,
Like,
listen,
please.
I want them. I don't.
You
I don't
say
care
that,
what they
but
want.
then the monkey's paw curls, and you get like a $75, like only on the Square Enix store physical release of the Pixel remaster.
That's fine with me because I
Listen,
got it. You know,
I bought that.
Oh,
I bought
finally
that
coming
collector's
to Switch.
edition.
That's what I'm
I'm
happy
not
about.
mad about it.
it's I cannot believe they're not selling that thing in Target. You know,
It is
like,
kind of
all
wild
the
they won't
things
have a
that Square
regular
can put on
edition for
shelf.
sale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's like a
Amazon.
slam dunk purchase. Like
You
that's,
think about the things that Square wants to put out there as just the things it wants on a store shelf. Like Final Fantasy is a big one, and obviously there's going to be Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 and all that. But you would think that having that classic on Switch, especially like on a shelf in places, would be big for them.
I feel like is that game's not what until April, March, something like that.
May, I think.
So I feel like these first editions go out. I think at some point, if not just a wider small release, one retailer outlet will be like, listen, we want to pay for a second printing. This is easy cash flow. This is easy money. It will probably be like a different cover. Like it will be a different version of that physical copy.
Oh, you think like somewhere like Limited Run or something picks up and does like a second printing?
I don't even think that. I could just say like I could see like a Target or a Best Buy or an Amazon. We will purchase X amount of this because this is easy cash.
Yeah, because I mean, like Best Buy, like Hades on Switch is exclusive to Best Buy, like physical release.
Yeah, like I feel like that's as we get closer to release or maybe post release, that's something to see. I mean, I think that's like the easiest cash in for Square Enix of any release they could put out physically for that. Anyways, that was the Crisis Core segment of the
discussion.
So I want to talk about our favorite animes this year.
Oh, I would love to talk about that.
All right.
Because I have a few things I want to talk about.
I didn't watch any anime this year.
I have not. I haven't done a bad job.
Well, you can learn about some anime and watch them.
Oh yeah, no, I'm cool talking about anime. I'm just saying I don't have anything.
Yeah.
Cam, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So there are two that I definitely want to talk about. A third one, like, it's just worth mentioning. But like, yeah, the first one I want to talk about is Blue Lock. Blue Lock is so fucking good, y'all. It's so good. It's a soccer anime. And basically the premise is like, no, it sounds ridiculous. It's like, oh, it's a sports anime. No, this shit, it's hype as fuck. And basically this organization recruits all the best strikers, and strikers is like a position in soccer. They're the ones that score the goals and stuff, into this like training facility to basically make up the ultimate soccer team to play in the World Cup to win. And it's like, so it's not like, oh, this is about being a team, this is about this. No, this is about being the best. This is about destroying your enemies in soccer. And it's so well animated, and like the first arc of the first season just ended, and it was basically like a round robin tournament. And they're all, each like person has their own like, you know, special skill. So like one person's really good at dribbling, one of them has really good speed, like one of them it's like has super high power when it comes to his shooting. And then the main character, like his thing is like he can smell a goal. That's like what it's called. He basically has foresight.
I can smell the goal.
And so he's like kind of like the tactics guy on the team. And he like it is just so good, y'all. Like because I saw like some people tweeting about it on Twitter. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll look into it. And I'll just like, I was like, okay, yeah, I see that people are talking about this. And then I was at my buddy Darren's place, and he's just like, yo, you watching Blue Lock? I was like, I heard about Blue Lock. He's like, yo, let me show you the first episode. And I was just, oh my god, I need to watch the rest of the show. and like it's on Crunchyroll. I'm like, yo, I got a Crunchyroll subscription now because I normally like watch my anime on like Hulu. I'm like, it's only on Crunchyroll. I'm like, bet. Like, and so there's 11 episodes so far, and it is so good. It is so good. I highly recommend. Like, I don't care like what anime you're into, give it a watch because it is so good. Um, and then the
Sounds
other
cool.
anime, yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, again, it's only on Crunchyroll, so that is what that is, but it's so good. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, like, got to talk about Attack on Titan season 4
Okay,
part 2.
that I've watched, that I've kept up with, but I couldn't tell you anything that happened because that show is just ridiculous and bonkers and like
What
I
do you mean?
I don't
It's
even
so
know what's
good.
going on. Like
It's one of the
it's
greatest
just
shows
it's
that,
good,
like,
but it's like
for me,
that
it's one of
show's
the greatest
completely
shows ever
different
made.
than what it started.
Like if this show nails its ending, it will be in my like top 5 favorite shows of all time for sure. And like it is, and like, so the thing is, like, Naruto will always be my favorite anime because I grew up with Naruto, but like, and granted, I haven't seen Evangelion yet. I know I gotta watch it, but like for me, like, and I've watched My Hero, or I've watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, like, um, and for me, like, if Attack on Titan nails this ending, it'll be like, in my opinion, the best anime ever made. Like, just straight up, like it's. I have no notes. Yeah. It's just that good, and like you get this revelation in this part 2 of season 2, and like this show has many like holy shit, like this is incredible revelations throughout the show. This one is like one of the greatest plot twists in any story ever. Any medium for me. I was just speechless, like absolutely speechless, and I was just like on the internet, like researching it and like all this stuff because of how enamored I was by it. And like I even have a friend, I go on a podcast of his every few months, and I saw that he was a big Avatar fan, and I was like, oh, that's one of my favorite shows of all time. So I was just like, yo, you should watch Attack on Titan, just because one of his favorite shows is one of my favorite shows. Like, you should watch Attack on Titan because one of the greatest shows ever made, just like Avatar. And he's like, okay, sure. And he's currently on the beginning of the final season, and he was like, dude, you were 100% right. Like, he has just been messaging me randomly, being like, oh my god, this, oh my god, that, like freaking out. Like Attack on Titan, if you haven't started it, watch it. Because it's just a show that, like, you think you know what it is, and then partway through the show, it's just like a whole different thing with a lot more like major themes going on, and like and it does suck that the person that created it is a terrible person, but it is a masterful story, masterful storytelling, masterful characters. It is so good.
It's on my list of at some point.
Can I spread the gospel for a moment?
Are you talking about Chainsaw Man?
Talk about fucking Chainsaw Man.
Are we
Look,
food
okay.
warsing?
We're no. Oh, okay. I could go on a rant about why Food Wars is one of the best.
1.+3 or whatever.
No, that was last year. That was last year. So let me talk about Chainsaw Man, because I think to talk about Chainsaw Man, I got to talk about Tatsuki Fujimoto. Tatsuki Fujimoto is the author of the manga Chainsaw Man that is still currently ongoing, is in its second part right now, and obviously is being adapted into an anime that has been quite popular. He is not what you would consider a classically trained artist. He never really seemed to study under any major artists. I think famously he only took like an oil painting class at one point, and that was about it. He doesn't really adhere to what you would consider like the conventional style of what a manga is supposed to look like, which is why it's so amazing that he eventually wound up in Shonen Jump and with something like Chainsaw Man. Why I think everyone needs to read the manga Chainsaw Man, and specifically read the manga, is because it is such a beautifully created manga. It is about Denji, a boy who his father dies. It is
Spoilers.
This is all first chapter. Everything I'm about to say is like the first chapter of this
Bold
story.
of you to assume I can read.
Just look at the pictures, you'll get it.
His father leaves him with a massive amount of gambling debt that he left to the Yakuza, and the Yakuza are going to make Denji pay up on that. And Denji sells his eye, sells his nut, sells his liver, I think it is, or his kidney, whichever one you
What
can
the
go
fuck?
with while still living. And also takes on a bunch of odd jobs, whatever he can do to try and pay off his father's debt, because the Yakuza will not, the Yakuza will get their money. He ends up meeting this devil dog by the name of Pochita, who is the chainsaw devil. So devils in the world of Chainsaw Man are human fears made manifest, and they are monsters that become more powerful the more that people fear them. So while something like the chicken devil is pretty whatever and couldn't harm anything if it wanted to, the darkness devil, the gun devil, which is one of the main antagonists of the entire thing, are fearsome. The gun devil, in an early chapter, they show a flashback of the gun devil killing millions of people in the span of 5 minutes. And the way it attacks is just brutal. And also, if you are someone who likes subtext, this is not subtext. They're like, hey, look, this is an analogy for gun violence. But that's
Oh.
Denji, is working hard, dreams one day of being able to eat toast with jam on it, because all that he and Pochita can afford is a slice of bread every day, and they're living in their shitty little rained out shack, just dreaming of the day that he might be able to put jam on his bread. And the Yakuza call him up, and they've got a good job for him, and they cut him into fucking pieces and dump him in the dumpster, and that is the end of Denji. Denji is sadly dead. But
More like edgy.
Whoa.
Pochita fuses with Denji and says that Pochita will become his heart and allow him to live on if Denji can show Pochita his dream made manifest. And that is when Denji comes back to life as Chainsaw Man, who can literally make chainsaws come out of his limbs and murders a whole fuck ton of Yakuza, and then ends up working for the government. And
Did Denji get
Yeah,
chopped
those
up by
benefits, man.
chainsaws? Is that where the chainsaws come from?
what's up?
Does Denji get chopped up by chainsaws? Is that where the
No,
chainsaws?
he just gets like chopped into pieces, and they like literally like it is. First of all, let me tell you, this is not for the squeamish. But
I'm more meaty.
I think number one, what makes Chainsaw Man so incredible is because it wants to deal with these ideas of like who holds power in the world and how is power wielded against people who cannot effectively fight back against it. There's a really great line that was just in a recent anime episode that aired where Makima, one of the main characters, is talking about how necessary evils are not real unless they're held by something that man cannot like deal with. So like man-made necessary evils are not true necessary evils, but those by the government, those by the people that control you in your life, those are necessary evils. It is an anime that wants to like deeply deal with the idea of what do you care about? Like what is your goal in life? And how do you like determine what you want in life? Because Denji is somebody who gets what he wants in life. He gets a job with the government slaying devils as Chainsaw Man. He gets toast with jam on it and stuff. And so then
the Yakuza.
yeah. And so he tries to start figuring out what he wants. And there's a very famous bit where he finds a porno mag while they're raiding a house, and he determines that he's going to touch a boob. And that is his new goal in life. While other people in the devil hunting society want to, take revenge on the gun devil or make a safe world or just make money, he wants to touch a boob. And then he touches a boob, and it is nothing to him. It doesn't do anything. It is so disappointing to him. And then he later figures out that's because it's not the boob of someone he cared about. It was just a boob. And it is really about like someone discovering what people mean to them and what is worth protecting, and also like what is life if you don't have the highs and lows of life. What is the human experience to all of us does it involve pain and suffering? Does it have to involve pain and suffering? Do we need to have lows to experience highs and highs to experience lows? It is a really, really fascinating, beautiful anime or manga, I should say. The anime is also very good. I say that you need to read the manga because I think the anime is fantastic and does some incredible stuff. There's an amazing bit. Cam, I'm glad you brought up plot twists because I have a specific not a bone to pick. Well, I have bones to pick with Attack on Titan, but that's for a different podcast. But I specifically don't like the trend in media that's all about like, oh, sick plot twist. Oh, this is a reference to the wiki and we can like find this Easter egg in an old thing. I'm not saying anything you brought up, like mentioned that just reminded me of this, that like there's a whole bit in the Chainsaw Man anime where for like 2 straight minutes you just watch the character Aki do his morning routine. And it is him doing the laundry. It is him vacuuming. It is him making his coffee, and he makes his coffee. So he grinds the beans and he pours over and stuff like that. And he sits down and has a cigarette and he's drinking his coffee and he's reading the newspaper. And it is so lovingly detailed and animated for something that is just a character moment. It's just like, this is who Aki is. They're communicating to you who this character is by how methodical he is, by how he cleans the apartment every day, but the apartment is just a tool for him to keep living so he can continue on his quest to fight the gun devil. He has to sleep to fight the gun devil. He has to drink coffee so he's awake enough to kill the gun devil. He reads the newspaper and smokes a cigarette because those are just things that he does in his life. But it's such an anime that's focused on those moments. And I think that's what really sets it apart from other shonen style anime, is because the battles are fast and they're violent and they're like over in half a second basically. And it's not about those moments where they're like sitting on other sides of the battlefield and they're like, his power does this, but maybe if I do this, I can dodge and fight with this. It's just people ripping and tearing into each other in wars of attrition where you're seeing like limbs shorn off and shit like that. But it is those like human moments that make those things hit. I think Chainsaw Man is easily the best thing you can read right now and is some of the best media I have consumed in the last decade for sure. The manga is incredible. The anime is incredible. The author Tatsuki Fujimoto also has done several one-shots that are incredible. I actually just ordered one that just got printed that is about a manga cartoonist who has imposter syndrome, which I'm very into. And then another one that is getting a physical release in the new year that's about a boy recording a movie on his phone. And that's about all I'll say about it. And it's...
Oh, it's one of those porno movies.
Yes.
Ew.
Yeah. It is, like, I think it is one of the most exciting, refreshing, fascinating things to see. And I can't just gush about Chainsaw Man enough. I think it is absolutely critical to consume. So, yeah. I love Chainsaw Man.
Okay. Any other animes?
Y'all should watch that
like
Hunter.
I do want to shout out the movie Belle. I enjoyed it. It was an interesting take on Beauty and the Beast.
I have that. I need to watch that.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. There were some parts that were a little cheesy, but I thought the stuff with the Beast, without getting the spoilers, felt very real and relatable, based off of personal experiences. And I think it was beautifully animated, and yeah, I just think you should check that out. I saw it in theaters. I really enjoyed it, and I got the Blu-ray when it came out. So
Interesting. I believe we. Oh, go ahead, Grayson.
I was gonna just quickly mention, like, besides like Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan and stuff, I think season 2 of Komi Can't Communicate came out this year, if I remember. But that's just like a nice, really cute slice of life sort of high school anime about a girl who has social anxiety, and you kind of go through her day-to-day in school dealing with that and making friends and dating and blah blah blah. It's really cute and wholesome. And then The Devil is a Part-Timer is the anime I really like too, which is also kind of a slice on life thing where a devil ends up in Tokyo, and he ends up like being stuck there. So he has to like work at McDonald's to make money and rent an apartment and stuff. And he ends up getting caught up in all of that hustle and bustle. So instead of learning how to get back to the demon kingdom or wherever he's from, he has to like focus on like getting a raise and getting up like the social, not the social ladder, but like the work ladder, you know, like getting up to be a manager, getting promoted and things like that. So it's really funny. And other people from like the demon dimension end up on Earth too to like fight him, or they end up stuck there too. It's a really cute anime. It's not like the most like epic anime with like a bunch of fights, but it's just like a nice, funny, like, you know, kind of comedic slice of life thing. Yeah.
I do also want to shout out something that I am starting right now, so not like super far into it, but I've watched like a couple bits of it here and there. Is called Kaguya-sama Love is War. And the whole idea is, okay, so like,
I love Jesse's
imagine
reaction to every anime that everyone's mentioning.
Jesse's taking notes.
Those are
Jesse's
titles.
thrilled. He's got so much anime to watch now. So y'all have all seen Death Note, correct? We've all seen Death Note.
Yeah, I've read Death Note. I have not.
Or we're familiar with the concept of Death Note.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Willem Dafoe.
So the setup of Kaguya-sama is that in this high school there is a student council president and a vice president, boy and girl, who just everyone is like shipping, right? Like they're all like they're gonna fall in love, they're gonna be the perfect couple, it's gonna be great. She's the daughter of a wealthy conglomerate, he's the like top school, like they're just perfect together, right? Like power couple immediately. Here's the thing, they're both super competitive, and neither one is, they won't admit that they like each other because they think that's conceding defeat to each other. And so the entire series is about putting each other in progressively compromising scenarios where they might have to admit that one is like attracted to the other and like cede the high ground, like, you know, be seen as the one who is like, oh, please accept my confession, please, you know, I like, they don't want to put themselves out there. And so they're trying to get the other person to do it first. And so there's a great clip of it, which is how I found out about it, where they're standing at the school and it's raining outside, and neither one of them wants to pull out an umbrella, because whoever pulls out an umbrella could theoretically hold it for the other person, and that would be seen as a sign of affection, right? That you're holding an umbrella for someone and walking home together. Come on, like they're totally into each other. And so they're going through this whole thing of like, the guy's like, oh, you're wealthy, don't you have a car? You should call your car. And she's like, no, actually our car's in the shop today, so we can't call the car, so you're just going to have to pull that umbrella out and walk us home. And he's like, I didn't bring an umbrella. And she's like, I know you brought an umbrella because I know you checked the forecast this morning. It's like going back and forth like Death Note style of like, no, actually I have you and I've got you on this. And it's like goofy fun with the tension of that like back and forth mental battle, but it's about like two people who won't admit that they like each other. And I have heard that the most recent season, which I think is its last, is extremely good. It like the basic concept for it was just like do Death Note, but it's about two tsunderes who won't admit they like each other. If you are familiar with the term, and it's goofy and it's fun. I dig it.
This sounds really. I know you talked about this like in our Discord yesterday.
Yeah.
But when you explained it more, like this sounds really funny. I want to watch this.
It's really good. I do like a lot of like comedy anime stuff when it's done well, and this is one where I think like they have really nailed the mix of like kakegurui or something like that with the sort of rom-com slice of life bits that I think make it work really, really well. Just that's not anime. Get that out of here.
I just don't.
Take that.
Why is there?
Take that back to the medieval times.
Why is there a Borderlands mask at Tim Sweeney's house?
Mm-hmm.
That's from PAX East 2020, right?
Yeah, my brother.
Remember that
Apparently
mask.
we got him in the hotel room. We were all wearing
Yeah.
them after that battle.
Yeah, I remember taking a picture of you with that mask on.
Yeah, I think I must have left it here. My brother just has it now.
We apparently summoned the anime senpai with all this anime talk. Mike is swooping in.
Entered the chat.
Good. Instant
Yeah,
transmission.
Uh,
I think it was
I came in here
Chainsaw
for a
Man that
reason.
got you in.
yeah, it was because I was just gonna ask if he's Eric if he started reading Fire Punch.
So I have the first, because I'm a sicko and I've like completely gone head over heels for all of Tatsuki Fujimoto's work. I have the first 5 volumes of Fire Punch, and I've read about the first 2 of them so far. Fire Punch is a much harder read because the comparison I would draw, if you're familiar with Evangelion, I assume you're familiar with Evangelion. Fire Punch is Evangelion, like the TV series, and Tatsuki Fujimoto is in a bad place when he's writing this. Like, there is some stuff he is working through, because that, for reference for the listeners at home, Fire Punch, let me
It's tough to even describe the premise.
let me
I did
describe the
start
pitch
reading
for
it.
you. Okay, so it's a world where there's been a nuclear winter and humanity is dying off, but some of them have superpowers, right? We got quirks. It's My Hero. This is fun, right? And so you hear Fire Punch. Oh, cool. So the main character's ability is to like light things on fire, like Todoroki, right? No, his ability is to regenerate. He's Wolverine. And so then you may ask, why is he called Fire Punch? And that's because when he's a small child, a man who can make fire that will burn you until you die visits his village and murders everybody, and he gets lit on fire. But he can't die because he will keep regenerating. So he's constantly on fire. This dude's just on fire forever now. And it is excruciating and it's terrible, and he is actively burning alive at all times. So he is Fire Punch.
You can't put him out.
This manga, in the first 3 pages, is the protagonist cutting his own arm off so he can feed his village because they are short on food. Fire Punch was, I have to assume, was written from an author in a bad place. I don't think someone in a good place writes this. So that's why I like Chainsaw Man, is because I feel like this is the rebuild of Fire Punch. This is Fire Punch written by somebody who maybe is in a slightly better mental health state than they were when they wrote the previous thing. I do like Fire Punch. It's just like every time I want to go back and read it, I have to like get myself in that mental state of like, here we go. We're going back in. This is gonna suck.
Yeah, it's weird.
I'm interested to see if they even try to adapt that, because Chainsaw Man's ridiculously successful already, and you know that like once they get through part 1 of Chainsaw Man, which is like the part that they're on right now, obviously they will probably try and do part 2, which is the part that they're currently on in the manga, but it's kind of a Naruto Shippuden split, I would say. But I don't think they'll ever try and do Fire Punch as an anime. I don't think it would work as an anime just functionally. I don't think it would click tone wise or just format wise. So I think I'm fine with that. His other stuff is really good though. It also gets
Goodbye,
dark,
Eri.
but in fun ways. Yeah. Goodbye Eri is, I'm probably going to cave and read that online before the physical version comes out. And I just ordered Look Back, which I already found out what the twist of that one is, and I cannot believe that he wrote that, but it also sounds really, really emotional and good. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Mike, what is your anime of the year? Or manga, or whatever you want to say. I don't fucking care.
I don't know. I think I'm watching 5 things now. 4, because I did just finish Stone Ocean finally.
Are you watching Blue Lock?
I'm not watching Blue Lock. I
Oh
heard you
my
gush about it. I
God,
might.
it's so good.
I don't know.
It's a good
Maybe
time.
I'll check it out.
It's a fun watch.
Let's see. So I'm watching that. Chainsaw Man, Stone Ocean. I'm gonna finish up Mob Psycho because I fell off of Mob Psycho for a bit. Season 3. Is season 3 the last season?
Yeah,
It
it
just
is the
ended
last one.
yesterday.
Yeah, so I have to finish that up.
I need to watch
I gotta
it. Like, now that it's done, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and watch this now.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta catch up on Spy X Family. And
Yeah, I need to watch
gotta
Spy
watch that
Family as well.
yeah,
I have a bunch of volumes of that I still haven't read.
I'm watching The Witch from Mercury. It's
I've
good.
What's that
heard
about?
I've heard interesting things about that, but like kind of mixed things.
It's the best way to describe it is it's Gundam mixed with Revolutionary Girl.
Yeah, yeah.
And oh yeah, I'm watching Bleach, but I'm like not happy about that.
Why are you watching Bleach?
My boyfriend's watching Bleach too. Like he's on season 2. He hates it. I feel like 'cause he's like,
yeah,
Everyone hates Bleach.
these episodes suck. I'm like, why are you watching this then? He's like, I just want to know for the new one. I'm like, don't just watch the recap. or
My
something.
understanding is that everybody who watches Bleach does not like watching Bleach, but they
so
keep watching
weird.
Bleach.
Except for Ray
It's the
Apollo.
weirdest thing. Yeah,
Ray
it's so
Apollo
weird
loves
because
Bleach.
I do see that people like genuinely like Bleach, and I'm like, good for you, man. But it crossed my mind to like just search my own Twitter for Bleach just to see how far back I was like upset with Bleach, and I can even see like the day that the final chapter of the 1,000 Year Blood War arc came out, and I was like, what the fuck was this? In fairness to Bleach, that one was a very abrupt ending. Like that clearly. So hopefully the anime like fixes that up.
The first season of Bleach, we were so hot on Bleach. Like we were fucking like Dom was watching Bleach.
I was
all watching
I was
it.
hot on Bleach. I was hot on Bleach, through the Soul Society arc, and then, everything else happened, and I didn't care for it, and then I just kept reading it because back then when I didn't like something, I still watched it or read it because I had that kind of time.
Yeah.
Now I can't bother to watch things I do like.
Right.
No time for bad things anymore.
Yeah, I don't have time anymore. But anyway, I would also sing my praises for Chainsaw Man.
Okay.
It's so
Sylvania
good.
Best Girl,
Can
Power
I
Best Girl, Mach
can
My
I-
Best Girl.
Oh, Power is absolutely the best girl, forever and always. But can I shout out also that they have a different ED for every single episode?
Every single episode, and that is fucking fire.
And they're so good. They're like really, really well made endings too. To the point that I'm like, every single one of those could have been the series ED, and instead they just kept making new ones. Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
It is.
It's impressive how much work Map is doing with this. I'm like, how are you guys and they got a full workload like all the time.
It really does seem like when picking the studio who was going to handle this, they picked the studio that was not just going to be able to do it well and do it to a high production standard, but they really seem to get what makes Chainsaw Man good, and that's what's exciting about it. And my only issues with it are really just larger issues that make adapting one media from like one forum into another forum just inherently difficult, the same that like making a book into a movie is a difficult prospect. So yeah, it's
Mike,
really something else.
We need to turn Mike's Minute into a real thing that we do more often, because I can sit and listen to you talk to someone else who knows what they're talking about, and it's enjoyable. I'm like, oh shit, Mike is into this conversation. I've never seen Mike into a conversation.
I'm just listening to this anime conversation right
It's
now.
great. It's great. I haven't
Anime
seen any
good.
of these shows.
That's your one time.
Anime is good.
Mike, would I
You
like
do-
I
Chainsaw
want to
Man?
start watching Chainsaw Man tonight or something because I should.
Yeah, get to it.
Would I
It's,
like it, Mike?
I think so.
Okay.
I-
Would
I-
Jesse like it?
Yes.
It'd be a tough sell, but listen, Jesse, if I can sit here and play Sea of Thieves, I think you can go and watch Chainsaw
You're not
Man.
playing Sea of Thieves. Don't fuck with me like that.
Listen,
ain't
What are you talking about? I'm on the boat
Jesse
right now.
Jesse has watched My Hero Academia, and if you like watch something like My Hero Academia and get any level
you
of
can-
enjoyment out of it, you will enjoy Chainsaw Man.
You'll
for
like
sure.
Chainsaw Man.
Yeah,
Anything,
yeah.
again, Denji's goal was to touch boobs. I feel like that's super relatable for like a lot of people. So
Does Chainsaw Man
And then
have a
the boob was bad, and he has to learn why boob was
I like
bad.
we keep talking about this singular boob. It was
Well, yeah,
bad.
he only gets to touch.
About the plural boob.
He does touch boobs, but I don't want to get too far into spoilers.
Wait, so
But-
is Denji just grapes?
Mhm.
I forget
No,
his name.
no, he's
Oh,
that's the main difference. Like, I hate Mineta because I think
Mineta,
Mineta
there you
is
go.
just the worst character ever conceived. But it's the same thing of like, we were talking about High on Life, right? And the whole squanch games of like, haha, wow, look, another pipe puzzle, how uninspired, IGN's gonna take points off for this. And then they make you do the pipe puzzle. Like, they bring up the joke, they point at it, they laugh at it, and then they do it anyways because
they put the lampshade on it. Yeah.
right. They're not going to go any further than that. And that's what Mineta is. Mineta is that joke where they're like, haha, doesn't every anime have a pervy guy? Anyways, he's here again and he's just doing it again. And that's the joke.
No, because I hate Mineta, but I enjoy it.
Remember that
So
scene where
funny,
like
yeah.
they were like touring each other's dorms and he was sitting there like doing like a very
yeah.
So funny. He's just like
descriptive
so excited
like,
just to
like
eat a presence of a
Mhm.
woman or anything they own or wear.
Whereas Denji is just, I think, an extremely relatable person because he is somebody who, again, is trying to figure out what they want in life. And it's somebody who's trying to figure out what they want in life who has never been afforded the room to want things and have them like have them feel achievable. And that's what's amazing is like, if you are a teenage boy, what is the thing you want? What is the thing you want to go for? And for Denji, the most he's ever been able to think of is toast and jam. And so the second he gets to start thinking about the idea of being close to a woman or having emotional attachment to people, which he's never been afforded the room to do, now he has to start working through that. And you get to see him work through that and grow through that process. And trust me, like, it goes beyond that and gets to, I think the relationship of Denji and Power in the manga is one of the most wholesome things that exists in manga today, and it's very good. And I think it's important that it starts where it starts. It's I love Chainsaw Man. I can't sing its praises enough.
Right,
Do you want to talk about video games now?
I feel
Theoretically, now that we're on like hour 2 of this podcast.
I will say openly out loud here, I'm fine, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So if people are feeling the wave, you know, we can do what needs to be done.
I'm good.
I don't care.
I'm good.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
You didn't ask Mike if
Oh,
he was
fuck
good.
Breath of the Wild.
Mike, are you good?
Listen,
Mike's a Hollywood.
Relitigating it.
I'll be silent for the rest of this thing. Like,
Mike's
I
a
just
Hollywood
want to
square.
talk about Chainsaw Man.
Mike doesn't have a. Mike has like a special little not
Oh, I
real
should probably
spot
take a look at this.
on. I mean,
Mike,
you're
you
just like a floating head on the bottom.
Fighting game that
Oh,
got
cool. Like, no one needs to listen. People know who I am. No, they
Yeah.
don't. It doesn't matter.
You're the
They
anime
shouldn't.
senpai. I'm gonna make a special image that says anime senpai and put it over your head.
Mm-hmm.
So I figure we could do whatever you want for the gaming section. Like, if you want to be like, this is my game of the year, suck my dick, I'm out. Like, cool, that's great. But if you just want to be like, listen, this is a game that I want to champion as a 2022 game that I want more people to play. Maybe it's not the best game. Maybe it's not this. Whatever. You can have multiple things too. But like,
Brenden, what's your pick?
you'll have to listen to episode 252 to find out what my game of the year is.
52?
Or wait, no. What are we
Well,
on?
like
We're on
episode
250.
He's pulling this
We're
one
on
up every 2
350.
episodes.
Yeah, I predicted this 2 years ago. What my game of the year was. No. So for past the controller end of the year stuff, you can listen to not the Bullet Train episode, which is next, but the episode after that will have our full rundown. I will have a mention here, but it will not be what my game of the year is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What's your thing?
I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and I think let me just look at my list of games that I have actually played this year and see if that's what I want to rock with here. Let's see. Games
It's
played
Balan Wonderworld.
2022.
You know, I pitched it to Brenden because I figured Brenden was prepared, and that was my first mistake.
Well, I am prepared, but I want to make sure that's what I actually want to speak on right now. Because I was going to just talk more about We Are OFK, but let me just see if there's something else that I think deserves my breath. Okay, I'll say 2 games.
Oh, hold on. Before we get into games, one anime we forgot to talk about. I can't believe I did this. I found out just by looking at my phone background. We need to talk about Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly,
that was phenomenal.
What I think is going to be recognized as a major anime work years from now.
Mhm.
Cyberpunk Edge Runners is fantastic. Yes.
Phenomenal.
Was Arcane also this year, and is that considered
No,
an anime?
that
was
was
last year.
that was last year, and I wouldn't consider that anime.
Okay,
It's animation, but it's not anime.
gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
The Aristocats, does that count?
The Aristocats? Is that what you call your act?
The Aristocrats.
No, the Aristocats. You ever seen that movie?
I saw.
Everybody wants to be a
They're gonna
cat.
skip Cats to Team Up too.
I was on TikTok the other day, and someone just had a clip from The Fox and the Hound on TikTok, and they just played it. That should be illegal. You should go to jail for subjecting someone to The Fox and the Hound without warning. Because I was depressed for a solid 24 hours.
I mean,
You didn't
After
have to watch the clip. You watched the clip.
Because once I'm in it, I'm in it. It's the one. It's not even like the one that you think of. It's the one where the grandma leaves the fox in the woods and drives away. It's like the saddest thing I've ever seen, and I just got re-subjected to it.
that is actually the anime betrayal. We don't talk about it enough, but that is the anime
greatest
betrayal right there.
anime betrayals.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw out two. So I'll start with We Are OFK because I already mentioned it. So, like I said, We Are OFK lives in this weird space of like, it is very hard to consider this a video game, and it's not a knock on it. I just like, it is not a game. It is very much, I guess it's a visual novel, but like
interactive.
Yeah, it's really just an interactive thing that you're watching, because at the end of the day, like, the decisions you're making in dialogue, from what I understand, because I didn't play it a second time, it doesn't change anything in the game. It's just like, you know, how do I want to respond to this text message or dialogue bubble, and it's not like bad. It's like fun.
You played like before your eyes with a controller, right? Like you're just watching the events.
I mean, yes and no, because I feel like that is super reductive to Before Your Eyes, because I feel like Before Your Eyes, like, that game mechanic makes that game so much more than what it is.
Right,
like,
I'm saying is in terms of like what the actual
content.
Yeah,
like it's all just gonna happen.
The gamification of it is necessarily just, you are kind of just watching this story unfold.
Pretty much. But I guess in the barest of ways, like Before Your Eyes, you can miss story, but like We're okay. You're just in it. Like, you're in it to see it. You can't lose. You can't fail. You can't miss dialogue. You can't miss story. It's just gonna all happen and play out. And I think, like, the music is phenomenal. I think the worst part about it are the music videos, simply because the interactive elements to the music videos, I never at any point found fun or engaging, and I found myself just not engaging with them, which didn't change the outcome of anything. Like, you don't have to do what's, you know, being asked of you to do in those segments. You can literally just let the music video play. And it's just an experience. Like, I think it tells a good story. Like, it tells a good story about, you know, this band, these relationships, you know, friendships and romantic. And I think it really touches on just very good notes of, you know, existing in those relationships. Like, a lot of the relationships, or maybe all of them, I don't remember, but a lot of the relationships in the game are LGBTQ plus. Like, they're I think even if you are a straight person, you can still relate to the things that are happening in these relationships. I think they're portrayed very well. It's just a really enjoyable story. I liked the characters pretty much across the board. And it was entertaining. Like, I had to speed through it for review because I had gotten it early and was rushing through it. And it's like a thing where it's like, no, this is X amount of hours regardless. Like, you need to have this amount of time to do this. So there's no more or less. You need to do this. And I don't even think my, like, enjoyment of the game was hindered by having to, like, basically power through until 5 a.m. to get through it. Really enjoyed it. I just think it's a game that, game air quotes, that a lot of people are going to just never touch. And that makes me kind of sad, because I think at the bare minimum, the music is really good. And I think you can enjoy the music without having the background of the game. But I really recommend, like, if that style of game where it's just like, hey, you're really just kind of hanging out for a story is intriguing to you, and it's probably like maybe 5 hours, maybe 6 hours max, I think it's worth your time and attention. And the other thing that I wanted to mention that
Hold on, I have one question about We Are OFK.
hit me.
Is the interactive music video parts better than the one gym test in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet where you have to do the dumb rhythm game?
Wait, which gym test in Scarlet did you have to
I
do?
can't even
it?
think of what one you're
Yeah.
talking about.
It's the one where you're doing like the
Yes, where you have to like imitate the things that it's
like
for the psychic
yeah,
gym.
or whatever
Yeah.
color matching, and you're like
Why do I
matching.
not remember
I
this?
really don't remember.
finished this game.
It's like the longest gym test. It's the psychic gym.
Huh? I did that one kind of
That's
early
the one like
too.
in the bottom left. That's the one in the bottom left corner.
Yeah, I
like,
think it is. Yeah,
Most people's last
like
gym.
an Alfrenato.
it was one of my first ones.
It's like a level 50 gym.
I had no
I
idea. what it
was way over leveled with Sylveon specifically because I was fucking just running around catching shit and battling people. I really don't remember that though. I'm gonna have to look up a video of it. But yeah, I say that most of the gym tests in Pokemon Scarlet were some of the worst parts of that game in my opinion.
was trash.
I didn't need any of that.
Nah, you didn't like putting a big olive pit in a goal?
Why do I not remember doing this? Is there somehow a way to skip that? Because I don't
No.
even remember. I've seen a picture of it, and I don't remember doing this at all, for some reason. Emotional spectrum practice. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Weird. What the heck? I was blacked out or something.
All right, I lied. I'm gonna mention two more things because they'll be easy to glaze over. One is Escape Academy, which I don't think is like this great game, but I played it co-op with Mike, and I had a really fucking fun time. And like, it's weird because that exists in a space where it's like, I really can't play that game ever again because I would know how to solve.
There's DLC now, though.
There is DLC, and I do intend on checking that out. But for like a co-op experience, it captured, I think, what it was trying to do, which was like mimic an escape room, and I enjoyed playing that co-op with Mike. And then the other thing is a game that I think is getting plenty of praise, but I don't think really makes anyone's Game of the Year thing, which I think is like just by far one of my favorite games of the year, and it's Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Hell yeah!
And I just think that game is delightful and fantastic, and it came out so early in the year where I'm considering, you know what, maybe I should dive back in and 100% it because I want more of that game because it's fucking just delightful. Makes me excited for future Kirby. I'm gonna fucking spin it right back at you, Jesse. What do you got? What do you got for me?
I have a lot, but like I think the thing that like I'm most recently hot on outside of Frog Detective is definitely the Case of the Golden Idol.
Hell yeah,
Which
hit me
is-
with it.
That I played with Eric and Ryan, but not Ryan, Carson, and it was really good. Like I'm a sucker for like a logic deduction puzzle game. Like you think of like Return of the Obra Dinn like 2 years ago, and like just how much fun that game is to like exist and try to figure out not only like the immediate puzzle, but like how does it fit into like the grander narrative that this game is trying to portray. And like the Case of the Golden Idol set up really interesting, where it's like 11 chapters, and each chapter is like a very specific moment in time, and like most of the time something tragic has happened, where it's like the first one is like a guy getting pushed off like a cliff into the ocean, and it's like very simple. It's like there are two people, there's a note on the ground that tells you who both of these people are. You have like a couple of identifiers to figure out which person is which of the two people. That teaches you, it's like, oh, you're slotting their name into this like document essentially, and it's like this person pushed to this person.
That's just on PC.
It's on PC for sure. I don't know if it's on other
know if it's on
platforms. Yeah.
But it's like, okay, you look around the map and like you read documents and conversations, and like words will be underlined, and when you click on them it adds it to your like inventory. And so all of your inventory is just words, whether it's like proper nouns, verbs, adjectives, or whatever. And then the game basically, once you've kind of assessed the scene, presents you with like what happened here. And so like the first one is like this person pushed this person, they fought over blank, and like you fill it in, and then it's like you did it, and then it moves on to the next one. The next one's like this person, there's like a dead person in this bed, and the room is a mess, and you can click on all these different things, and like now you're like, okay, how did this person die? Who is this person? What do we think happened based on like their journal or like the calendar on the wall or things like that? And then it just like escalates further and further. There's like one where that guy's on fire, And it's like, why is this guy on fire right now? And you go into a room and you find a bunch of other stuff, and the puzzles continue to get like more and more elaborate, like whether it's more people involved, or it's multiple rooms, or sometimes there's even like multiple locations you can go to. And the thing that is really interesting is you will learn a lot about the characters, because like you'll learn like, oh, this person's related to this person who knows this person, and these people are friends, and then like in the next chapter you'll recognize a lot of those faces, and you'll be like, oh, this person's from the last one. I already know who this person is, and I already know what they've done, so I know that they would have motive to do Y. And so it's like, you're not only are you like solving these case by case, but like you're taking prior knowledge into the next one, and it's like a nice like escalation of, oh, I know this person does this. And so, of course, they would be embroiled in whatever's going on here, because this is their best friend, and their best friend is known for doing this. And, you start to kind of like piece together little by little. And then it eventually all culminates. And it was like a really nice moment of me, Eric, and Carson were playing it, and we got to the last chapter. And the last chapter is just massive in terms of scope, and like asks the player to solve, because it's not now only asking you to solve like the immediate problem, but also like, okay, we're really going to ask you to, what happened throughout this entire game.
Yeah.
Like, what is the twist? What is the problem that has been presented? What is the conclusion of this game? And it does it in a couple of different ways, but having to not only like parse through like, okay, what happened here right now, but also having to think like, oh, that's this person, and this person looks different now, and blah blah blah, blah. And you end up putting in what you think it is, and then it ends up being wrong, and you're like, why is it wrong? What did we do? And then you're thinking, and you're like, oh, what if it's this instead? And then like you get another piece, and you're like, oh, well, if that's true, then this has to be true. And then the way it all kind of culminates is just like really satisfying in an and something that like I really appreciate. I think the whole game took us like 6 hours, maybe. It's like not a long game, but it's really cool. It's really really neat.
I love mystery games. I play a lot of detective mystery games, and I've had my ups and downs with them over the years. And I think that what Golden Idol did that was so interesting was it gives you the building blocks to understand what is happening, because all you're doing is you're being given basically like the terms that you need to solve the puzzle, and there are the right ones and there are like red herrings. And so example, so and so was killed by, it's almost very Clue like, where it's like, was it Colonel Mustard in the ballroom with the candelabra, or was it Mrs. Green in a library with a machete? Like, what is it? And it gives you those blocks, and that already gets you thinking on the path. And then like the things it presents you with, I thought there was a really smart, there were a lot of really smart choices in terms of what it put in front of you to say, this is what you need to figure out in this moment. Because not only are they posing a problem to you, but they're teaching you something while they're doing it. Like there was one very early on where we had to figure out a set of runes, and I was sitting there and I was like, they are teaching us this because it's going to be important later on what the runes are, and that we need to understand inherently what these runes are saying, because it may come into play later. And guess what? It did. And so I think it's a very smart game in terms of how it teaches you that stuff. And I think that people who maybe bounced off Oberdin, which I think is a much more pure detective experience, because you really are just given nothing and told to solve everything. But here you are kind of, it's more structured, it's more thoughtfully laid out for somebody to be able to get from point A to point B. We never had to use the hint system, so I don't know how good the hint system is, but I would recommend playing it with other people. That does seem like a good time. We had a good time doing it that way. But yeah, it is really well designed to be able to get you to think up to that point where you will see something like the final case where it is massive and there's so many points and so many different things to solve, and you will be ready for it because you have kind of gotten your head around every individual thing you need to get there. And now you can have that Hercule Poirot moment of gathering everyone in the drawing room and saying, this is what happened. This is who did it. This is how it happened, beat by beat by beat by beat. And it feels really, really good. So
yeah, it's on my list. That's why I like when all of you were playing it in Discord, I was like, I'm gonna vibe in the chat, but I'm not gonna watch the game because I want to play this at some point, or at least watch someone play it from front to back, because I joined
It is
later.
very much like Escape Academy, like you were saying, where it's like once you've kind of done it, you've done it.
Yes.
Like there's no problem with games. I love them, but it's like you can never re-experience them, right? Like you let other people experience them, but you can never re-experience them.
So maybe I'll play it in Discord, and if you all want to watch, you can watch.
Hell yeah, I'd happily do it. Yeah.
Anything else you want to shout out there, Jesse?
I want to shout out how Fish is made, because that game is really bizarre and it's only 15 minutes long. It's really fucking cool, and it's free. So,
is it on itch or where is it? Oh, it's on Steam. Okay.
It is literally like a 15-minute weird experience. It's like a statement art piece more than it is anything else. I think I would describe it, little teaser for my personal game of the year list. A lot of people would call it a walking simulator, but you should call it a fish flopping simulator, because that's all you really do.
Hell yeah.
It's like really inherent sadness to it, and it's like it's commenting on a lot of things, right? It's like contacting like
do fish feel pain?
It's talking about do fish feel pain. It's talking about like environmental destruction, like man versus machine. It really deals with a lot of stuff, and then at the end, it hits you with like some really introspective thoughts and quotes that like the person who made this game is very clearly like going through something, and this was like maybe some sort of catharsis for them. It's just like a really weird thing that came out this year, and it really resonated with me in both like the absurdity of it, but also like there's a running theme throughout it of like, do choices matter? We're asking you to make other choices. At the end of the day, like maybe having a choice is a gift in itself, like stuff like that. Like it's got some good shit in it. It's only 15 minutes and it's free, so I highly recommend it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Grayson, what about you?
I mean, I randomly like put together my top 10 on Twitter earlier today. And I've been looking at the list of games I played this year, and honestly, I'm like just disappointed myself for not playing more like indie games or like,
how dare
I guess hidden gem type stuff, because besides Vampire Survivors, besides Vampire Survivors and
I need to play
Neon
that
White,
DLC.
I haven't played like any indie games like at all, and Stray, I guess, but that's like more of a more produced of a game. I could just say my top 10. I mean, I'll just go through real quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's so I got Mario Rabbids for number 10.
That one was
Vampire
good.
Survivors. Yeah, Vampire Survivors number 9, which is something that it was Vampire Survivors is one of the games you hear everyone's talking about and playing it, and it's like, okay, let me check it out myself. You play that game for 2 minutes and you're like immediately hooked on it, and every time I play, and my boyfriend's obsessed with it now too. It's on Game Pass, so if anyone who hasn't played it, you should definitely check it out. It's on mobile too for free. And for someone who doesn't know what it is, it's like a top-down, almost pixelated Super Nintendo styled, or like almost NES styled, or like 8-bit top-down roguelike, where all you do is move. You don't press any buttons to attack. All you do is move and try to defeat enemies and level up. And every time you level up, you get access to like a really cool power-up, and you can continue to upgrade that power-up to get it really powerful, or get like a bunch of other different upgrades until you have like this really satisfying, powerful build of a character, and you're just like standing like this and just watching you like decimate thousands of enemies on a screen at once. It's just like pure power fantasy video game, and then you die after 30 minutes and you just want to like keep playing over and over and over again. But it's really, really good. Really surprised me. Stray is number 8. I don't feel like I really need to talk about Stray that much. Marvel Snap, I got number 7, which is something else that also surprised me. I'm not a huge card person. I don't play mobile games. I continue to play Marvel Snap probably every single day. It's just completely addictive, and such a smart, easy to play card game that you can immediately understand like within a few matches. Does such a good job at teaching you how to play. Does a good job not pushing microtransactions on you. it really gets you to learn about a bunch of different Marvel characters that aren't put in the forefront of the MCU and stuff. Awesome mobile game. I put Sunbreak at number 6. I'm a big Monster Hunter nerd. You guys know that. I put Pokemon Violet and Scarlet for number 5. A lot of it, it has a lot of issues for me. I put Pokemon Legends at number 3. I just like what the Game Freak did with that game. I think I like the weird experimentative stuff they did with that game. I like the catching mechanics, and it feels weird going back to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet after Arceus because it feels almost like a step backwards and also a step forward because of the open world stuff. But it's just like I wish we can get more of Arceus type stuff in the future.
I have a question for you, Grayson. Spoiler free. What do you think of the end of Scarlet Violet? Like the end portion of that game, like the last 2 hours.
It's the ending is crazy. Like it's not something I would have expected. But ultimately, it's just like I find the Arceus's ending and post game to be way more like climactic, or epic in a way because they have really tough Pokemon battles. The Pokemon battles at the end of Scarlet and Violet aren't really that difficult, and it's just kind of like, okay, let's just get to the end of this, and it's just weird, and everything just happens at the end. If that makes sense, like it doesn't really build up to having this epic conclusion, so it sort of feels out of place for me, and ultimately sort of forgettable, in a way. Not forgettable where like I'm always gonna remember what happened. It was really weird, but it was just kind of like, okay, that's not what made the game special for me. I also put Splatoon 3 for my number 4. I played like almost 100 hours of Splatoon 3. Splatoon 3 is fucking amazing. And then Kirby and Forgotten Land number 2, and Elden Ring number 1. There's not much else to say that hasn't been said about Elden Ring. It's just fucking amazing, like incredible. My favorite Souls game ever.
Are you a Souls player, or is Elden Ring your?
No, so I mean, Sekiro was the first Souls game that got me.
Okay.
Oh,
and
wow.
then I tried Bloodborne, and I didn't like Bloodborne. I tried Demon Souls. I liked it, but it felt very difficult for me, and kind of like beating my head against the wall, sort of difficult, where I felt like I couldn't progress. With Elden Ring, it's like that open world. Like I'm free to just go wherever I want. The bosses didn't feel as tough. I feel like it's just so much more forgivable. It's beautiful. Everywhere you go and end up, and every quest you do, every boss you fight it's so satisfying and enjoyable and entertaining, and like what a game. Like I'm so excited to see what they're gonna do next, and I hope it's something like that because I don't know if I can get into like a traditional Dark Souls experience after this.
Are you excited?
I need something a little bit more open.
Do you think you're gonna get down with Armored Core or no?
No, probably not. No, I'm not. I'm not a Gundam. Like I don't like those type of mech. I've never been into that stuff. Maybe they could get me into it. If they like advertise it as like a Souls mech game, I'm like could be down for that. So we'll see.
Shout out to FromSoft for taking this opportunity to not just call it Armored Core, but very specifically call it something like Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, where
they could have just called it Armored Core, right?
Whole thing that they could have named that thing.
No.
This is for the people that have been asking for Armored Core.
Yeah, they're doing this for those who have been around for a long time, and I love them for it because, like, yes, Armored Core is a very different thing. I think a lot of people who are going like Armored Souls are going to be very disappointed. This is like, what if Gran Turismo, but the car you made could murder people? And it's really it's something else for that. It captures, I think, big mech battles better than anything else does out there.
What if they called it Armored Core 6? It's 6, right?
Yeah.
Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon Reunion. How are we feeling about that?
Okay.
Does that
Then we'd have to talk about if it's a remaster or a remake, and we'd have to talk about how it fits into the grander scheme for the rebuilds.
Okay, what about Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon Elden Ring Union? Then you get the Elden Ring sickos, be like, oh, is this Elden Ring sequel spinoff?
Here's the thing.
I played that video game.
I like the Souls tie-in because I think that you need to have it to kind of trick some people in, right? Okay, but you need to also let everyone know that it's a holistic remake of Armored Core from the ground up, holistic. So I think we got to go and call it Armored Core Holes, And we
No.
Armored Core 6 Holes Reunion.
Yes.
You must reunite the holes of the realms of Rubicon. That's the plot. Eric, what about you? What do you want to champion here?
I'm still working on the order of my top 10. I have a general idea of what games are on it, but I have not decided the order of it. And this is the third time I've been on a podcast to talk about my favorite games of the year.
Then talk about your worst game. What's the
the worst thing I played this year? Did I play The Good Life this year? That was pretty bad. That was last year.
Did we play the Together B&B update this year?
Oh, we did play the Together B&B update.
But that's the best game you played this year.
It's incredibly. Boy, talk about. It was this meme game that had a trailer last year that made everybody go like, "Oh!" And so I bought it. And we played it in the Discord, and it was really dumb and stupid, and just, God, what a silly game that was. And then there was a big update finally this year. And we booted it up to check it out, and within like the first 3 minutes, there was a racial slur, and so we were like, "Well, cool, we're out." And that was Together B&B. Uninstalled that. Can't get a refund on it because we played too many hours in that first batch. But boy, that was a 180 if I've ever seen one. So on that note, there's one game that I would like to give some flowers to, but I think Cam is going to shout out when he talks about his favorite games of the year, so I will leave that for that. I've already talked a lot about all the RPGs that I really love from this year over on Axe of the Blood Gods. You can go listen to that if you want to hear about like Citizen Sleeper, Pentiment, Xenoblade. I actually want to shout out.
Is that episode already up or is it not out yet?
That will that will be up on the 28th.
Okay, as I
think
I did listen to the most recent one, and I don't think it was that. I forget what it was.
So Monday, this coming Monday, as of this recording, is going to be the RPG year in review, and then I think on the 28th is the RPG end of year extravaganza. And between the two of those, I covered most of the games that I really like this year.
Okay.
The one I would like to talk a little bit more about.
Oh yeah, this week
we have not.
This week was the games we loved but weren't so hot on later. That's
yeah,
what, okay.
yeah. It was the mailbag episode. Was this last week? Haven't talked much about Neon White, and I will actually say that I'm probably cooler of the group. It is going to be in my top 10, but I think it's probably going to be like my number 10 or something like that. Mostly because I think the story just did not resonate with me. And it wasn't because of any dumb thing like, oh, they're cringy. No, it's not that. I just didn't think the story really did much for me at the end of the day.
Can I ask, how much of the side links?
I did. So I did not personally do a lot of it. I have, because during the review period, we only had X amount of time, but I have gone back and done some more of it. And even then it was not, I haven't finished it because it just wasn't grabbing me enough to make me want to pull through and get all of them. And I was skipping a lot of the, like I was trying to read the visual novel stuff that was happening in between. And it was just too many like references and writing that did not feel like it was furthering a characterization, but felt like it was just kind of an in-joke to be an in-joke. And I just did not, the whole thing felt like a bag full of references to things that somebody likes, and I think that can work sometimes. I just didn't think it worked for me here.
Gotcha.
All that being said, I think that game is incredibly brilliantly designed as a teach me how to speedrun game and get me into the idea of speedrunning game. The way it gives you these cards, so it gives you like a design language, right? You have this map and you have a card, and you know that card has individual bullet uses, or you can alt fire it for a movement ability which discards it. And so that already teaches you, okay, limited resources, each of these cards can do a certain number of things a set number of times, and I have to use them in combination to get to the end. And the way it starts to just evolve out and get you to communicate in those ways as you go through level after level of understanding intrinsically how to use these abilities to move move fast and then move even faster is so smart. I think the way it sets goals out for you is really smart. The way it gives you ghosts that you can chase after, that will show you where some of the shortcuts are, and it also teaches you about how to find shortcuts, which is really cool. And also, like, this is something that came up around the Game Awards, but many years I think we give a lot of love to games that have orchestrated soundtracks, that have big, sweeping strings. And I love Xenoblade. Like, I think Xenoblade is one of the best OSTs of the year. But Neon White is the best soundtrack of the year. It is ridiculously good. It fits exactly what that game is doing. It is just wall-to-wall bangers the whole way. Like, it puts you in the zone in a way that I can't stress enough. It's good music. It's just good music front to back. And I really want that shouted out, that Heart Machine's soundtrack for this is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Machine Girl.
Yeah. No, Heart Machine is the Hyper Light Drifter folks. Machine Girl. Thank you. Yeah. So good. That was a big one for me this year. And then I'll also say that, I mean, I've talked a bunch about it, but I keep coming back to Immortality. Is really just something different in a way that is so cool to see in games. I think that's the one, if you really, much like Before Your Eyes, if you wanted something that's like, how can we continue to push the bounds of what gaming can be? Immortality feels like that, where it's like, here is this thing that is FMV, and so you might think it's just cheesy, you might think it's just camp, and it does so much with the format of what you're doing as you're scrubbing back and forth in this footage, because you are looking through an archive of an actress named Marissa Marcel, who was in 3 movies that never released and then disappeared under mysterious circumstances. You now have the archive. You're trying to find what happened to her. And you can move through the footage by using the match cut system of every time you see something that looks kind of interesting to you, you can target it like Pokemon Snap, and it zooms into that object. Maybe it's a face, maybe it's a knife, maybe it's an apple, and you zoom in and then you pull back out and you're in a different clip from the archive. And that's how you find new clips, is you find things that interest you and you pull that thread. And whereas her storytelling lives are so good in their own rights, I think what Immortality does is it removes that barrier that existed between the player and the game, where now you're not working with a search box and a search term anymore, but you're right up against the screen and you're scrolling it and you're looking for things and you're trying to find what really interests you and chase after it. And it's an incredible production, massive in terms of scale, because it's 3 full movies that were written to be movies. Like, these are legitimate movies, and the actors are then portraying. You have the actress Manon Gage, who is playing Marissa Marcel, who is playing this character in the movie Ambrosio, and so you are watching this portrayal play out, and you are seeing, because you are looking at archival footage, you're not just seeing the finished edits that would be in a movie, you're seeing what happens before and after that clapper hits, right? You're seeing table reads, you're seeing behind the scenes interviews, you're seeing moments where they just had the camera running while something was happening, and you keep going and you keep going, and eventually things start to get a little weird, and that's where I'll leave it with that. But
I want to chime in real quick with Immortality, because I'd have to go back and listen to whatever episode of the podcast came out when I had finished that game, because I feel like I probably wasn't super hot on it at the time, but as the conversation has gone on, and I've listened to like you and Jesse and other people like in the Discord or wherever else talk about the game more, I'm like, oh no, this game is like actually really fucking cool, to the point where like I now wish that I had played this game in a setting where other people were watching me, because I think it would just be a better community experience. And I also now, like, did Alex finish it yet?
No, I think Alex is still playing through
like,
it.
I kind of want to watch someone else play it too, because it's interesting to see like how someone is navigating through the game. I think that's like a very interesting like meta way to dissect this game. It's like a very like, I don't know. There's so many layers to this game, because it's different for everybody, the way that you kind of peruse through it. and discover the story. And like when I had it on when Alex was playing at some point, I was like, remember specifically Jesse saying like, oh, you got to this super quick, like we didn't get to this specific thing, whatever. And in my head I was like, oh, I also got to that really quick. So it's weird to like see this like it really weird stone's throw, not a real thing I'm trying to make a thing, but it's like gave me like a little tinge of like Breath of the Wild, where it's like when Breath of the Wild came out, it was like I'm doing all this, and like specifically Todd and I would have discussions constantly where it's like, oh, I'm doing all this, and it like gave me that little hit of like, oh shit, okay, everyone else is kind of experiencing this their own way, and that's really cool because that's really unique in games, I feel like, still. Where you can kind of experience it and still get the end, sort of like everyone gets to the same moment in some way, but there's this whole journey that can be very different. It can be the same, it can be similar, but it can also be very different. And that's really like, I'm excited just in general at the prospect of more games finding ways. Like these are two different opposite spectrums of like, the way that you're going this journey Immortality and the way you're going on your journey in Breath of the Wild are completely different. But there's so much more for other games to be like that with, you know, on the Breath of the Wild side, and like that on the Immortality side, and like that in the middle, you know, all these other angles we haven't even discovered yet. And like that kind of concept of like arriving at this same moment, but getting there in different ways, in like meaningful different ways, not just like there are branching paths and different dialogue choice, like just a meaningful way of getting there that can just be because of you and not because of necessarily the game, is very intriguing to me.
It's the idea of like, again, Her Story and Telling Lies, the two previous games from Sam Barlow and the team at Half Mermaid, use a search term. So basically, when you are looking for clips, you type in a search term that you want to query for, and it will pull up clips that have that word in the script for that. And so the whole idea is when you're playing Her Story, you might search murder or disappearance or husband or something like that. And just, party. When Jesse and I were playing it, Jesse almost discovered one of the biggest clips in the game by accident because he wanted to search party.
Hell yeah.
First thing. So we were going through all that, and
that's a speedrun strat, searching party at the beginning.
Speedrun party. It's cool because in that moment, like that's a really novel way to structure a game, right? It feels kind of like a mystery, like you're uncovering something by following that trail. But what Immortality kind of made me realize as I went back to these games is that's creating this barrier between you and the thing you're doing. It is and that's not always a bad thing, but it is the framing of those games. You know, you are searching through a thing, and I think in Telling Lies that's used very well because you're looking through this like this hard drive that seems like it's been taken from somewhere that it shouldn't have, and it adds that like veneer of, oh, I should be looking over my shoulder, like I'm watching footage I shouldn't see. Something happened here that people don't want to get out, and it's kind of that spy thriller espionage aspect. I think with Immortality, by removing that layer and having it be you just scrubbing footage back and forth and using match cut and there's like a screen that you can pull back out to go back to clips. To be clear, you don't have to always match cut to move around, but by having match cut be the primary means of discovering this game, you are like right there with the footage the whole time. You're so much more you are always in the footage. You're not ever like having that moment where you maybe like pull back out to see all the clips, but you don't pull all the way back in the way you do with like Her Story. And I think it builds into this thing that then becomes, without going too deep into it, Immortality is a game about creativity and about the act of creation and the act of like making art and telling stories. How do we communicate with one another? I have some sort of value, some sort of meaning that I want to impart onto the rest of you. How do I use like what I'm doing right now? How do I use my words? How do I use the way that I talk? How do I use the way that I phrase things to do that, to get that to you so that you feel the thing that I feel? And that's what Immortality is about, to me at least. It's about a lot of other things too, and a lot of other people have taken a lot of meaning out of this game, but that's kind of my point. Is this is like a dense work. This is a thing that feels like it is a step forward in the medium, and that's what's really exciting to me. Is like this is largely untrodden ground in ways that are really compelling and interesting to me, and it is just a massive achievement in so many different ways. That it is, I think it's something that we will be talking about 5-10 years from now. So yeah, Immortality owns. So does Pentiment. Play Pentiment if you like reading about why the church is bad.
Church bad though.
That's my short sell on Pentiment is, do you want to know why the church created problems in the 15th century? Then play Pentiment. And there's another game I do want to talk about, but I think Cam wants to talk about it too, so I'm gonna let Cam talk about it. Oh, also Xenoblade 3 is fucking fantastic. I never liked Xenoblade before this, and Xenoblade 3 fucking annihilated my life, and I love it. And that whole entire cast is precious, and I will defend them. They're fantastic. Uni is the best character of 2022, no contest.
My biggest regret of the year so far is that I have not finished Xenoblade, because I feel...
fun fact, I haven't yet either, because I don't want to finish it yet. I want to keep like playing around in that world. I am like sitting in the final dungeon and I'm being like, I need to finish this, but like I don't want to yet. So,
but at least you're at the point where you can like confidently speak on how you feel about the game, whereas like I'm still I'm still in like the first third of the game where it's like I know I'm loving this so far, but before I can be like confidently like no, this game is fucking amazing and I want to like put my name on it, I need to get a little bit further. But I have no qualms
chapter
about
5. That moment is called chapter 5.
I think I got to the end of chapter 4 and then I stopped playing or something.
Based on what you're saying, Eric, you're gonna like when you finish Xenoblade 3, you're gonna be like, no one talked to me for like a week. I just want you to know that, because as someone who like, I finished Xenoblade 3 and I liked it. I liked it. You know, I wasn't particularly like blown away or anything.
Is it not your favorite Xenoblade game?
No. But also like, you know, even before 3, my favorite was 2, and that was an unpopular opinion. So, you know, 2 like has obvious flaws, but I think that like in its final act, it has some of my favorite things I've seen in JRPGs. Period. And so like, and I just like did vibe with the cast a lot more in 2. And like the cast is like solid in 3. Like there's certain characters that stood out to me, but yeah, I just I think I just expected more from the final like act of 3. Like, you know, there was crazy stuff that happened at the end of chapter 5. It didn't like meet the expectations that I got personally, that I was told about, but like it was still like, oh shit, okay, and like, you know, that was interesting. And then it kind of just stops, and then you're just kind of like, all right, you can kind of just explore the world again. And then, but like in Xenoblade 2, like when it starts, it doesn't stop until you finish the game. And it's and again it goes on for a long time, and just being able to like just keep it going and keep it interesting for that long for a JRPG isn't easy. And so that really you know, but I did like the cast, so I was just and like the way it ended, I was like, fuck, dude, I like, this is so sad. And it made me wish that I like was connected to that cast more, because then I would have been really fucked up. So like knowing like how Eric is, what he's saying about the cast, I'm like,
go to war for Uni.
Like you were going to be very sad at the end of Xenoblade 3. But yeah, I mean, like before we talk about the game, you know, that my favorite game this year, but like far and away,
Sonic Frontiers.
No, but I mean, I need to go back. I only played a little bit of it.
Jesse, you were hot on it at first. Has your opinion changed up or down?
That second island sucks.
Gotcha.
flying
I didn't
high.
get past the third island, I think.
But I
But
know I've talked.
man, what a bummer.
I know I've talked about this a lot, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but like and this one of these games is technically a game that came out this year for the first time, like officially in the West. But like, I was looking at like the games I played this year, and I've only beaten 24 games. I've played more, but I've only beaten 24, and at least half of them are all JRPGs, which makes sense why I haven't beaten as many games, because I'm playing JRPGs. But like,
It's a lot of games still.
Yeah, sure.
Fucking shit ton of JRPGs. That's that's
compared
like
to last
more
year-
game. That's like more hours of gameplay than like most people play in like just like
Yeah.
a couple of years.
Sure, I just think it's because like the previous year before that, I am pretty sure I beat like near, if not over 50 games. So like,
But you also like rallied through like the Trails games. Like you like rallied last year
I played more this year than last year.
of Trails games. Well, listen, I don't know what the
played
fuck I'm
3 this
talking
year.
about. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. What do you want from me?
But what I was saying is like, think, but that's kind of like what I was like alluding to, is that the Legend of Heroes series is so good to me. It is like fundamentally raised my standards for all video games. That like, for me, like a lot of games this year that a lot of people love just really didn't hit for me. And I know that like it's not comparing, like, I'm comparing like completely different types of games, right? But like, but it is just like, oh man, this is pretty good, but it's not the Legend of Heroes. I'm literally just like, that has been my mentality for like ever since I've been exposed to this franchise. And I think that like, like obviously Elden Ring is great. Do I feel like I need to go back and finish it? Not really.
How
I
far
played through
how
God
far
of
did you
War.
get?
I got to.
How many big bosses
the-
did you kill?
I passed
Did
the
you get past?
school.
Did you get to the capital?
I passed. I don't think so.
Did you fight Radigan? Not Radigan.
Oh,
who's the-
Radigan. Oh, Radigan.
No, who's-
Radon?
Radon. Yeah, on the beach, storming the beach.
The big festival, the big fight festival. That's like
That's
so
the
cool.
one. That's the one thing I think everybody needs to do in
Is
Elden
play that,
Ring
yeah.
is do the
Yeah.
Radon fight, because it is so just. It's so over the top, and it's something like so different from what FromSoft usually. Well, I mean, they've done big boss fights, but I think the things that boss fight does specifically are so cool that like I love it. It's so dumb and
No,
fun.
like I've seen, like it's one of those games, like I see people play. I'm like that's really cool. But then like I think about when I played it, and like there'd be certain points where I was just like, oh, like, well, like, because I was a magic class. I was like, oh, the magic's not really working on this boss. And then I was just like, oh, there's this katana that uses my intelligence stat. Okay, I'll get that. I was like, okay, cool. And then I'll inevitably I'll beat that boss. And then, but even like before that, it's just like, oh, I can't beat this boss. Time to go to the same spot that I found before, beat these enemies over and over and over again to get enough like, souls to runes to level up. And then do it again, just to like get my intelligence up. And it's just like, and just for me, I just didn't want to grind like that. And I just like knowing, it's like, okay, if I'm gonna still be doing this for like another 30 hours, I'm like, I would just rather like hop on to the next thing and like come back to it later if I feel like it. Like part of me wants to finish it just to be able to say I finished it, but also again, there's just so many games that just like I want these games to respect my time.
Yeah, of course.
It's interesting to me to hear that you had to grind, because I felt like all the grinding I did was like I did it because I wanted to do it, but I never felt like I was pushed to grind. I felt like I was getting the resources I needed just from playing through each area.
Yeah.
Were you doing a magic class too?
I was doing magic, but it was a different. It wasn't int. I was doing faith.
We're doing the incantations.
Yeah, I was doing Dex Faith was my build.
Yeah.
Whenever there was something like really hard, I just sort of like left and went into a different area to fight something else easier,
Yeah, I'm just
or just to
stubborn,
like kind of have a
I'm
new
stubborn,
build and you
though.
come back. Yeah.
No, I get
I-
that. I'm
yeah.
just stubborn. I like when I run into a boss, unless it's like obvious that I'm like, oh, I cannot do this. But like if it's like,
yeah, but if you have a chance, you're gonna try like a million
if I
times.
can see a slightest chance of winning, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna spend the next
100% true because I watched Cam fight the Dragon Knight or whatever for like
the
2
Crucible
hours.
Knight. The Crucible Knight, yeah.
I watched him do that.
Right, yeah. Oh
yeah,
my god.
I spent like 2 hours.
Oh
doing
my
that
god, is that the one that
fucker.
can fly, like kind of like charge with the
Yeah,
It's the one that like it just like has a huge
He's not one of those
attack.
really
That
early.
was
Literally
annoying.
all I was doing was walking back, trying to do the horizontal spell, and then you just put up his shield, and I'm like, I'd run out of mana.
That fight was a bitch. Like I remember, yeah, it took
I
a
had
very
to
long
fight them.
time.
No, because it gets to the point when you get far enough in the game where they're just common enemies, and I'm like,
yeah,
there's no fucking way I'm gonna
No,
beat
well,
this fucker right
so
now.
I will tell you that you eventually get like spells and magic and stuff that will let you easily mess those guys up, and you were just.
But I was going
you
down the
were
main path. Like I, you know what I mean? Like I was like,
Yeah,
at
you
that
just
point, I was going.
discovered something that when you in the normal way of discovery. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was just funny because I was like,
it's just one of
I
those things.
witnessed your stubbornness firsthand, and I was like,
Yeah.
I get.
I do think that was a moment where you were very much like you saw that it was possible, and you like set yourself on that path to then just say like I am going to like bust my head through this wall. I'm going to Kool-Aid Man through this wall.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I had a similar experience early in the game because like the game sets you up to encounter that first. I don't know what the enemy's called. Like, yes, the Tree Sentinel. It's like, and I was like, no, this thing is here. I must be able to defeat this. I have got to be able to defeat this. And I cannot tell you how many times I was the one being defeated until I was like, you know what? Moving on.
That's the first lesson it teaches you is like you can't beat everything.
Yes,
it's fascinating to me because Xenoblade does the exact same thing. Like Xenoblade, in one of the first open areas you have, there is a giant monster, and it says like level 89 over the top of it.
Like every Xenoblade game kind of does that, right?
Yeah.
Like the first
and so I'm always curious about what the difference maker is. That is it just like seeing the number and knowing like, okay, this game wants me to come back.
This is a level whatever boss, and you know that is the difference. That is definitely the difference.
Yeah.
But like Elden Ring doesn't give you that. It just is like, hey, here's this dude.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, you don't know if it's gonna be strong until it attacks you, or if you attack it and it's barred, it doesn't even move.
If I can see that it can one hit me, then I'm like, okay, I am not equipped for this fight. I'm gonna fight this boss later.
I will say though, like even if you don't go back and finish it, I feel like you have played enough hours of the game where you can probably just make a critical analysis for yourself personally about like the quality of the game. It's like
sure. Like I say, like it's a quality game.
A spoiler if you're going to listen to episode 352, I'm confident that Todd's game of the year is going to be Ragnarok and his number 2 is going to be Elden Ring. And he hasn't finished Elden Ring, but he has put in 160 hours to Elden Ring. And he probably won't finish the game, but he's put so much time into it where he's like,
he knows it's just how he plays video games.
Yes.
Cyberpunk, he did the same thing.
Yes, exactly. So like that, like you can, I mean, I don't think you put 160 hours into Elden Ring, but I think you've put enough time. Like I have put enough time into Red Dead Redemption 2 where I know I am not going to love this game, but I am going to give a second shot to it for Cam when next gen update ever comes out. Anyways, continue with your games.
But yeah, I was just gonna say,
Jesse with the facepalm, expecting a whirlwind conversation.
I think that like the map design is incredible, like absolutely incredible, and artistically it's great, for sure, and it's definitely like one of the like. It's like probably one of my favorite open worlds in general, but like, yeah, there's some things that just like kind of build up that it just kind of like, you know, I don't need to play this anymore. Like, at least for right now, I can step away, because I knew that if I did keep playing it, I was gonna play it for like another like 50 hours at minimum, and I'm like, I would rather play this, that, or the other right now.
You saw a good point to hop off, and you took
exactly.
it.
I saw a good point to hop off.
That's
where I
fair.
could, like step away and like come back to it when I want to. Because, you know, I played Demon Souls and I still never even finished Demon Souls, but I played most of it. Like, I got like one world left before the end or something like that. And like, you know, I do want to go back to it, but I just like, and I really want to like properly restart and play all of Sekiro because I really like the combat system in that
Yeah,
game.
I want to play Sekiro.
But
Really good.
yeah, it's just one of those things like I'm just not that into like, you know, Miyazaki's games like other people are, but I like see like why people love them. Like I totally get that. Like I love challenging boss fights and like well designed boss fights and stuff like that. But, you know, if the other stuff around it isn't like grabbing me or keeping me interested, then like it's, you know, inevitably I'm going to like walk away for the time being. Again, I think Elden Ring I will go back to eventually. I just need to find the right time to actually have the time to do it. So because again, there's just so many games to play, like, and there's just so many like older games that I like genuinely love that I still haven't even like gotten to finish, like Death Stranding. Like I want to finish that game so bad, but I just like never have the time to do it because I want to like literally 100% that game. I want to do all the deliveries. I want to do everything. Like that's how much I was enjoying that game when I first played it. But I knew it was like I can't commit myself to this game right now. I'm gonna step away, and when I have the time to do so, I'm gonna just literally just play this, just this. But yeah, in general, yeah, a lot of the games this year didn't really hit for me. There are some games that I want to play that I haven't yet. Like Immortality is definitely one of them, just because of how different it sounds. Like I want to like see if I dig it. I'm trying to think about what else.
You haven't said the game yet that I thought you were
I
going to
know,
say.
but I know, but yeah. But the point I was trying to make is that like I think that for me, you know, since I like started playing Legend of Heroes early last year, like again, my standard for games has risen, and it's made like games that I might have normally like enjoyed more like less because I'm just like these games are like this. And I granted like there's plenty of old classic games that are phenomenal as well, but these games I'm just like they were doing this like over 20 years ago at such a high quality of like that we hardly see in today's games, like the, you know, the quality of writing and world building and things like that, the things that like I at the end of the day like love probably most about games, that just isn't in like the games that we would consider like, oh, that was a good game, like it's like, but it's not like this, you know. So but there's a lot of games that I'm really looking forward to next year, that I hope really meet my expectations, because, you know, we've been waiting a long time for them. You know, Lost Soul Aside should finally come out next year. Final Fantasy 16 Rebirth I think is going to come out early 2024 personally.
Forspoken?
For I mean,
Jesse loves Forspoken.
I didn't play the demo, but I'm going to play the game when it comes out for sure. Fire Emblem Engage I'm excited about. So yeah, I'm excited.
I'm like, I'm gonna play that game.
It's such a fan servicey game. I can't believe they're making
Weird.
it. It's just for the long time Fire Emblem fans who want to see all the Fire Emblem characters kiss and meet each other, and I'm so into that. Like
Listen,
polish that ring firmly.
Nintendo has a ripe Fire Emblem just like thing there. Like just let it loose. Let it fucking loose.
Honestly,
Let
go
us have it.
further with it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm fucking saying.
They have a whole mechanic where you can go to sleep in the home base and then wake up and a character says hi to you. And I'm like, y'all, what are you doing? Okay, talk to character at night, talk to character again in the morning, but you won't give me just this. It's already a game where they stab each other. Come on.
This is a different type of sword, you know?
It's
yeah, but even if I would consider Trails from Zero, which is again the first localization of a I think 12-year-old game, like 10 to 12-year-old game at this point, in consideration for my top 10.
Listen, there's no rules here. There's no rules here.
It wouldn't be my personal number one.
Okay.
Because because man, Signalis. Let's talk about a masterpiece. You know what I mean?
Okay, hit me with it. Educate me.
Yeah. So Signalis, you know, I played it at PAX East, and it's like very PS1, like stick with me now, Brennan. It's like PS1 horror genre inspired, but it's not scary. It's not a scary game.
But I'm
like,
a baby.
Was, like,
I
am too.
Okay.
I am too.
All right.
I am too. And so and it's like, again, like, I know it came out at the wrong time, but arguably the best art direction this year. Like, incredible art design.
Okay.
Definitely 100%. Like, you can't change my mind. Best audio design this year. Best audio design.
It is very good. Yeah.
It is phenomenal. You know, and it's basically you're called a replica, but you're basically like a cyborg, a robot more so that wakes up. You're crash landed on this planet, on a ship, and there are all these creatures that you don't know what the fuck they are that are trying to like kill you, and you were trying to figure out what the fuck has happened on this planet, and then you find out like this is a planet that you used to be on, where there are other replicas, and basically shit happened. Not gonna go into spoilers. And this whole place is like desecrated. And you're exploring all these different areas. Like there's like, you know, different facilities. There's a mine area of all these different creatures, and the gameplay is it's kind of like, you know, top down kind of isometric, and your inventory is like Resident Evil, so you have I think 6-7 inventory slots throughout the entire game. Like you don't get upgrades. That is what you have. And you can combine items and things like that, which is cool. And it's a pretty straightforward game from that aspect. You know, you have your weapons, you have certain items, you have key items that like, you know, like you have to get off the ship, right? You find like 2 pieces of like a card key, and you have to like tape it together to get the suit to leave the ship, that kind of thing. And there's like all these really, really great puzzles throughout the game that all are just like so different from each other. But like, you know, whatever area you're in, the solution is there. Like there are definitely times where I was just like, Eric, like, because he finished the game before me, like, Eric, what do I do? He's like, it's there, you just got to keep looking. And I'm just like, okay, and I just keep looking, and inevitably I'll find it. And it's just like, oh, like that's like it's like a puzzle that you kind of want to be mad at because it like outsmarted you, you know. And yeah, there's some really great puzzles. There are multiple endings, and people are still trying to figure out like how those endings, what caused those endings, because me and Eric got like a different ending. Like I got the promise ending, and he got a different ending, and like apparently the promise ending is like the closest thing to like the good ending, or like
there is an additional secret ending.
Ooh.
I still haven't gotten it, but yeah.
Yeah, and that was also learned that there's an additional, because there's like this safe that they're like it's like the one puzzle in the game when you play through it first naturally that you don't know the answer to. But then like people like, you know, once they played it, they came back and they were trying to figure out like how to open this safe. And yeah, it's really just like a survival, you know, thriller sci-fi game, and it's just, again, gorgeous pixel art, awesome cinematic cutscenes, you know, really, really cool puzzles. Like my favorite moment of like any game this year is in Signalis, and it has to do with like radio frequencies. Like there are puzzles that you have a radio and you have to like go to the right channel to like get clues sometimes, and like there's other stuff where it's really just something like, I don't want to ruin it, you just got to play it, but it's really, really cool. It's just a really nice mix of sci-fi and like Russian culture, you know, and it's very, very good. And I think it succeeds at everything that it tries to accomplish. And I think it's just a really fascinating game that like you would want to like go on YouTube and like for people that are really want to get into the nitty gritty, like watch like video essays on like what that world is about, what like what happened before the game started, and like and it really does surprise you in a lot of other ways when you get to near the end of the game. It's on Game Pass, you know, Xbox or PC. It's on Switch. It's on everything else as well, but yeah, Game Pass, highly recommend it. It's definitely my game of the year. And it's like, you know, you can beat it in like I have a
like
friend who
8-10 hours probably.
So yeah, it took me 11 hours, but I saw my friend play it, and granted, he played on like easy, and he'd like, you know, push through it, but he beat it in like 6.5. I think that's definitely on the very early side, like, you know, but naturally 8 to 12 hours, depending on how you fare with the puzzles.
Yeah, all I'll say about this is Cam already put it really well about what's so good about this game. It's just it's a love letter, and not in a way that feels like it's held back. I think a lot of games try to replicate that era of survival horror, and this has so much DNA of Silent Hill, Resident Evil, even like first person horror through some of the puzzles that you do and things like that. And I think it just manages it so well that it even took people by surprise. I saw some of the complaints that I've seen are people being like, I hate you can only carry around like a gun and some ammo, and if I want to have a key item I have to like give up something I want to hold. And I was like, that's the idea, that's the point. That's you have to make that decision. It adds danger because you're having to make that choice of like, do you want to have ready access to something but have to give up an inventory slot to do it. And I just think so much of this game is so carefully crafted and constructed to understand what a good survival horror looks like, feels like, plays like, sounds like. And on top of all of it, just an incredible lore that's built up around it. I love the world that has been created in Signalis. I love some of the stuff you can dig into if you go into the side documents about what the replicas are, how these characters ended up where they are. There's some really powerful story moments that play out over the course of the game that I think work really well to drive those points home. And yeah, it really feels like a modern survival horror classic, like something was plucked out of the PlayStation 1 era and given this like not even a sheen, because it is still very, you know, low poly in a lot of ways, but it is just so well constructed that I'm loving this era of nostalgia games that definitely play on a love for a genre, but also like get what makes those things good. Chained Echoes is actually one that is not going to be in my game of the year list because I'm not even close to finishing it yet, but it's one of the games that I'm like addicted to playing, or I'm really, really into playing right now, because I just love the way it understands what those games were, and I think Signalis does the same thing. So,
hell yeah,
yeah. And I also want to shout out, not particularly like because I've played it and I've heard like, and I have good things to say, but just I've heard really good things, and I don't know if anyone here has actually gotten the chance to sit down and play it, but I've heard really good things about Citizen Sleeper.
Oh, I love Citizen Sleeper. It's probably my game of the year.
It is your game of the year?
It is looking like my number one.
Really? Okay. Wow.
The short version is that you are an artificial body, a sleeper. Sleepers are made by copying the consciousness of a living person into an artificial body and sending that new creation off to work in a labor camp. And you are an escaped sleeper who is on the run from a corporation and trying to fend off forced obsolescence. So trying to maintain your artificial body while also staying ahead of the company that's trying to reclaim its property and survive in a world that's largely apathetic to you. You roll dice every day. The number of dice you have is determined by the condition of your body, and you have to make decisions about how you slot those die. So you roll a 6, that's a guaranteed success. Maybe you want to put that towards working a job today so you can get some money to pay for the meds that you need. but that means that you're not slotting those dice into spending time with the people you want to hang out with. Maybe you're not slotting those, maybe because you only have 3 die and they aren't rolling up the way you want them to, you're going to have to risk it on some things and potentially take negative choices. It is heavily tabletop inspired. It is really, really beautifully written. It is about finding a family in a cold, dead space and finding worth and meaning for yourself in a world that just wants to commodify your existence. And I cannot recommend it enough. It is a beautiful game. I love it.
It's on my list.
And it's on Game Pass.
It is on Game
And
Pass.
it is on Game
So
Pass.
is Signalis, right?
Real
Signalis?
talk.
Yep.
I am amazed by this. Is not, I have not received a check in the mail yet from Phil. Jeez, God. But Xbox Game Pass really got some hits on there this year. A lot of like my favorite games when I was going back down the list, I was like, a lot of these are on Xbox Game Pass and like readily available, and some of them were even like day one launches. And I was
Citizen Sleeper, High on Life, Signalis.
Yeah, High on Life, yeah, of course.
I didn't like that much, but
I've been really impressed by the games that they're not just putting on the service, but that they are like their day one to be like, this is something we want to push. This is something that we want to have on the service. Whoever's making the selection choices over there is making some good picks.
The last thing I wanted to say really quick before we wrap up here is I had a question for you, Eric. How long is Citizen Sleeper?
Oh, 8-10 hours maybe. I want to say you could probably beat it in one sitting if you're really determined. But yeah, two to 3 sittings at the most. Okay. And definitely I would say there's some room for replaying, but it is I've only played it once. I don't want to go back because I like my ending. And there are many different endings, but the way you get there means that you can see a lot of that world without necessarily having to replay it over and over and over again. I can't recommend it enough. Like it's very, very good, and definitely one of a couple games that are like candidate for my number 1 spot.
So based on the knowledge gained tonight, you could drink a Brenden amount of espresso in a day and finish 2 Game of the Year contenders in one sitting if you just stayed up for 20 hours. So there you go. There's your holiday break suggestion. Play Citizen Sleeper.
Take 24 hours, play Signalis, Citizen Sleeper, and Immortality all in 24 hours.
Ooh, okay,
there you go.
Yeah. Don't sleep. Don't sleep at all.
Don't sleep, and you'll be haunted by the artificial body fuck ghosts that will come to you in your dreams.
His words. I'm not. They're right. They're the right words. That's what they are.
They really are.
I mean, I feel like at clocking in just over 3 hours, that might solidify what is ultimately going to be now an annual celebration. So lock yourselves in every year. It's these 6. It's happening every year. We're going back to back to back to back to back. But yeah, I mean, listen, we could chat all night about games, movies, anime, music. We didn't even talk about movies tonight, but we're not gonna. You've got your fill. But we could talk for fucking hours. Clearly, we just did. I'm not lying. And normally we'd end the show with what's in the box, but it's late. I could give 1 game, but we could just wrap up.
But I feel like we should wrap up and do a full.
Yes, because I feel like if I do one, it's gonna be like, all right, do another. So let's just. We're going to end it here. We're going to tease it. You know what I mean? Maybe there'll be a future game show episode where we bring on the cast and we get it back going and we just do a full blowout game show. Who knows? Who's to say? I'm not a soothsayer. Anyways, everyone run down the line and take a quick moment. Plug whatever you'd like to plug, your stuff, your work, your whatever it may be. It's the holidays and this is for you. You know what I mean? So we'll just go in order. Cam, plug away.
I mean, just, you can follow me on Twitter at CamFinalMix. I do have Hive also at CamFinalMix, but, we'll see if that works in the future. And then, yeah, that's it.
Hell yeah. Eric, yourself.
I'm Eric. You can find me by day over at destructo.com. You can find me by night over at Normandy FM, a retrospective podcast series where we cover many different games and are soon about to cover the Nier series. Very excited about that. I'm also over one of the blog gods at Blood God Pod, where I work with Kat Bailey and Nadia Oxford to cover RPGs. We are announcing soon all the stuff that we're doing in 2023, so I can't talk about it yet, but it is very, very exciting. We are embarking on some adventures that I'm looking forward to there. And you can find me at CMusi everywhere that matters.
Hell yeah. Greysun.
Yeah, you guys can find me at gamerant.com. I'm pretty much on social media as just Greysun Morales, one word. So you can find me on Twitter or Hive. You know, if Twitter ends up even in a worse position than it is now. And Instagram and TikTok and all that jazz. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Mike, do you want people to interact with you?
No. Why?
I do not wish to be perceived.
That
Just
is
look up Mike on Google.
Hey, also
and you'll
shout out
find
to
it.
Overwatch 2, baby. Let's go.
Sure. I love Overwatch,
What?
but I mean,
Listen, the launch wasn't great, but I love me Overwatch.
listen, I love Overwatch. It is what it is. I love Overwatch. We'll leave it at that. If Ken was here, Ken would be championing Overwatch. Mike's reaction to should you follow Mike being very poor means you should absolutely go follow Shadowstar on nope at _Mycopath. Sorry, I'm mixing my years up.
Almost
in my
had
head.
him.
Almost had me.
had him.
Mike, I've known you for too long. I know all your handles. Well, not all of them, because
Oh, no.
you won't reveal some
I
of
was
those.
tweeting about something the
No,
other
I'm
day.
not
I had to
gonna,
ask
like, obviously, I
my-
use a different name for Pornhub.
Yeah. My hentai account is different. It's at Hentai Musi.
Yeah.
What did you say, Jesse?
I don't know. Mike tweeted something the other day, and I had to ask you. I was like, "Why is
You
Mike
did.
tweeting about this?"
Oh, it's something
I
about
don't-
something about at work or something. I forget. Or interview or something.
I would have to see what
It was like
looked up.
if you never took an interview. I forget what it was.
Oh, because I was talking to somebody who they've been like trying to interview, and they've been doing like a lot of virtual interviews, and I think they had also mentioned like someone had called them in for like an in-person interview, something like that. There was a conversation being had, and the question was posed like, I'd rather have the virtual interview because like I don't have to get fully dressed. I can get dressed from like the top up. And then we're like, does anyone ever get hired doing a virtual interview with no pants on? Because a lot of people probably did only virtual interviews, and someone must have gotten hired, right?
Look, no
For
one's
sure.
only Donald Duck is that powerful to go pantsless and still cast Zeta Flare, but we do aspire to be like Donald Duck.
No, I do
I mean,
think it was.
he's in the Navy.
Tweet, I can finally push my OnlyFans account. I think that was.
Mhm.
I think that was.
Oh,
Wait, hold on. Repeat
that's right.
that
I
one.
forgot about that
What
one.
was it?
It was a tweet on the Twitter policy change that they ended
Oh,
up.
right.
Oh, okay. We can't put links to other social media.
So it was
Yeah.
supposed to- they listed a bunch of social media, but they did not say OnlyFans. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
cool.
I love that I just
Look,
made
alright.
Mike explain a whole other irrelevant tweet, and
Mhm.
then Jesse just comes in with no, it's about this OnlyFans shit, Mike.
It's about Donald Ducking in a professional environment, or Winnie the Pooh if you're wearing a crop top.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That is the cast tonight. That is the. I mean, again, thank you to all of
You're
you.
not gonna let me plug my shit?
Did I skip you?
My God.
You
Oh
spiked him.
shit! I mean,
Yeah.
I was sitting here.
mean-
I was like, I wonder if Brent's gonna remember
Listen,
that he
it's
skipped
almost
Jesse.
1:00 y'all's time. Like
Mhm.
it's understandable.
I've also had the equivalent of too many drinks. So there you go.
You can follow me at primagames.com. That's where my work is. You can follow me on Twitter at Jesse Vitelli. Don't follow me anywhere else. There's nothing good to find anywhere else. Don't worry about it.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
You're
Except
building
OnlyFans.
gingerbread
You
houses
can
today.
buy.
I was building gingerbread houses live on Instagram.
I missed that. Damn it.
Aw.
But yeah, don't go anywhere else. If you have to ask about it, you can't afford it. My favorite movie this year was Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Hell yeah!
Yeah.
That was a good film this year. Yeah, but like you can do whatever you want, whatever you set your heart to. Happy 2022. Yeah. Shout out to Final Fantasy 14. in which I have to be up in 5 hours to cover a live letter that is happening.
What was your favorite live letter of 2022?
Honestly, I really, really liked the one where they were like, here's to 10 years. We're going to talk about the lighting changes that we're going to make to Final Fantasy 14, and here's this updated character model. And people got upset and they were like, just kidding, that's not the actual character model. So, your thinking is very funny. I bought a jacket that got shipped, but it got stolen, so I had to get a refund on it, which kind of sucked. But, 2022 is a years of ups and downs and ups, and, it's kind of like a roller coaster. But, I'm happy to be here with everybody and just kind of vibing. And, this was a good time, and we talked about all of our favorite things of 2022. And 2023 opened up to be pretty good, but that Starfield game, people seem pretty excited about that. And then outside of that, my favorite character that I got to hang out with this year was Sans Undertale, because Sans, he kind of goes like and then talk to him. I've never played Undertale, but Mr. Sans seemed like a really, really cool dude.
This is such a lie, Jesse. The favorite character you hung out with this year was Teddy from Persona 4, a game you also haven't played.
I haven't played Persona 4, but Teddy is just a little boy inside of a bear. That was kind of freaky to find out. Those Persona characters, they're a bunch of little sickos if you really think about it.
Shout out to Ultimax. That's a good game released this year.
Ultimax is kind of cool. Yukiko's kind of fucked up though. I don't really like playing against her. But 2023 is, we got Tears of the Kingdom. Shout out to the Queen. Pour one out for the homie.
Oh yeah.
That happened this year. The Queen died. I wonder if the England soccer players know about that yet. I don't think they told them before they played the World Cup. They didn't do very well though, so it's okay. But yeah, that's everything from me. Thank you very much. My name is Mr. Meeseeks. High on Life is Goaty 2022, baby.
Clip it. Get him. Got him. Caught him in fucking
Like
240p.
There's nothing else to say. Like just close the stream right now.
Yeah. Before I forget, hold on. There's one more thing I gotta talk about here. It's really important that everybody knows that Fortnite is actually the game of 2022 because Fortnite added so many characters this year, like Rick Sanchez and Morty in a mech, and Summer is in there now, and Mr. Meeseeks and all the really cool guys. They're just guys being dudes. There's Scott in Fortnite now, which I thought was pretty neat. And then on top of that, there were some other cool things that they added to Fortnite, like a giant hammer that you can hit and fly around. And at one point, you got to turn into goo, like in Splatoon. You got to go through walls and shit, and that was pretty cool, like the Secret Life of Alex Mack. But I digress. Fortnite's really cool, guys. You should play Fortnite. My friend Justin, he plays Fortnite and he's cracked at it. So if you really like Fortnite, it's free. And Tim Sweeney is a really cool guy. He let me hang out in his cabin all day. And yeah, that's everything. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
You're gonna make me fucking piss my pants.
It's like if Joe Pera was the Joker.
Love you.
I'm the Joker, baby.
It is.
I mean, there's no other way to close it out. You can find me at Big Room. You know where to find everything else. I love all these people. I love you. Have a good new year.